Good evening, everybody. Good evening. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. And we are coming to you live from Barbados. Where are you watching me from? It's a pleasant evening, and tonight we want to start off with a bang. We're starting off with a bang. You see my screen, it says Left with Lifeline Loan, right? I'm going to talk the best Bajan that I could talk, right? Left with Lifeline Loan, no to NIS and pension bill. And there is a march that is coming up on this Saturday at 10 a.m. from Kensington Oval to Independence Square. Why are we marching out there? We're saying no to the raising of the pension age to 68, no to increasing contributions from 500 to 750, and no to the privatization of the NIS fund. That is what we're saying. Who is coming? Who is joining? Who is going to join? Who will join us? That is going to be on Saturday at 10 a.m. And let me tell you something, my Bajan people. Unity is strength. Unity is strength. Yeah. And we don't want three persons out there and the rest of you who are wondering if it's going to work. Why do we do that kind of thing? We're home and then we're going to say, let me see if it's going to work. If it doesn't work, it's because you didn't come out, right? You didn't come out, so it didn't work. So everybody, this actually concerns everyone, every person in Barbados. You might say, well, at this moment, I'm not of that age. I'm nowhere near 68, but you're going to get there if all goes well, right? You're going to get there. So we want you to come out. We want you to come out, get on coming out, right? Unity is strength. Unity is strength. Good evening, everybody. Hey, nobody telling me good evening. Where are you watching from? And please share up the live, share up the live, share up the live. And I'm seeing my guests are coming in. But before I go to them, I want to talk to us a little bit about unity and how important it is for us to work together. I realize that anybody at all that attempts to do anything, what I find is that we find a fault with that person on exactly why we can't work with them. All right. So someone that has an initiative, and we don't look at the full, we don't look at the initiative, look at it, look at every part of it. How is it going to benefit? Who is it going to benefit? And look at what is the purpose of it, etc. No, we start to pick to see what is wrong with that particular person, why we're unable to work with them. So I've been told, oh, she's Jamaican and this and that, and they find every single fault. Don't mind, they agree with the issue. And I'm saying to us, can we mature a little bit and focus on the issue at hand? Can we focus on that and stop finding all the different reasons why we shouldn't work with each other? I see Winston there, and I know he will come in at some point. I'm gonna post a link in the chat, and Winston, I know, will jump in. Winston, please share it for us. This is important. It's important that we come together and we keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on. You see, even one of the senators came out and talked about, I think it said unto Adams. Did I get that name right? And he came out and he was talking about all the investment that they're going to do. That's because of the pressure of the people. They're coming out, and wanted to defend and so on. And so Saturday, guys, come on, man. Stop pointing fingers on everybody who's that you see that is planning, and say, well, that one over there did this in such and such a time, and the other one down there, he said this, and that one over there. And because that's what they're going to do, they're going to try to pick us off, and they'll send their people to pick us off, to tell us what's wrong with the other person, right? But Bajans, we're going to come together. Listen, we're going to come together just like the way they came together in Montgomery, right? So I know Mr. Caswell is here, but he's still, I can see he's still getting himself together. So I'm gonna use the opportunity to show you a video of this massive brawl in Alabama, and you will see what I'm talking about coming together. All right. So let's go to that. Let's go to that. Let me try and see if I can get it from the beginning. Doesn't seem that way.
They wrong for that now. That boy swimming his out. Yeah. Get up there, young boy. Get up there, young buck. Get up there, young buck. We got action, baby. He ain't finna do nothing. Arrest that. They wrong for that now. That boy swimming his out. Yeah. Get up there, young boy. Get up there, young buck. Get up there, young buck. We got action, baby. He ain't finna do nothing. Arrest that.
Guys, this is just a little piece of it, and it is trending all over social media. And it is trending over social media not because of the violence that you see there, that people are fighting, etc., but it's the unity where one the security officer spoke to this white family and told them that they could not basically park their boat, dock their boat where they dock their boat, that they that there were other boats that had to come in and that they needed to move the boat. And they decided that they weren't going to do that. In addition to that, they decided they're going to beat the black security guard, right? And they did. I mean, they got on him and were punching away at him, beating him up. And then all of a sudden, you saw black people from all over just start coming in. They were running in, and they were beating the daylights out of those people. They even had a 16-year-old boy who swam across that Montgomery River to go join. 16 years old. What? I mean, you can understand what must be going through his head. He see them beating up this black man, and he decided that he's going to swim all the way over there. And they have some other parts where people were picking up the chair as though they are in wrestling and fighting with the chair, the folding chair, which has now become a big thing. Hi, I'm seeing Apostle Greedy is on. Good night. I see you're back from Jamaica. That's wonderful. And I was watching you had a great time in Jamaica. So, I just brought this video up, guys. Of course, I don't condone violence at all, in no way at all. But I wanted to bring this, to show you this video, to say to you guys that in unity, there is strength. They would have beat that man to pulp if everybody didn't jump in. That little 16-year-old boy, he jumped in the water, right? And he swam all the way over there. Don't mind, in America, I used to live in America, they say black people don't swim. But that little boy, he swam his way over there to join all of those other big men to make sure that that man was secure and that all was well with him. And that is what we need to do on Saturday. That is the kind of unity that we need to see on Saturday. We need to swim. We need to crawl. We need to run. We need to walk. Whatever we have to do, we have to get to Kensington Mall, because our future hangs in the balance. Our future, our lifeline, we need to hang on to the lifeline. So regardless of how you get there, regardless of how you get there, right? It is important for you to get there. Yes, Marlene, we were happy to see that unity amongst the Black community. And I'm saying to us in Barbados, why it is that we can find one thing to come together around. Huh? This has to do with the elderly. Has to do with NIS. This has to do with pension. Will affect every person in Barbados. This is a time for thousands of people to get on the street, not a time to point a finger on one of the organizers. And I don't like this one, and I'm from this party. And not the time for parties, right? Not the time for parties at all. At all, at all, at all. Not the time to be involved in that and saying, oh, he's associated with that party, and that one associated with that party, and this other one associated with that party. Absolutely not. All roads need to lead down to Kensington Oval, right? Yeah. All roads need to lead to Kensington Oval, right there at Massey Mall, at the Massey Car Park. Okay, and 10 o'clock. Come a little before 10, so we can leave together at 10 o'clock. Don't come exactly at 10. Get down. This is business. Get down there quarter to 10. You're a pastor, and Monica Hoyt says she outside bright and early as usual. Yes, Monica, and bring people with you. Bring people with you. This is not about this is about your lifeline. This is about our future in this country. All right. So that's my little talk this evening about this march. Stop finding fault with the people that are up front. They are paying a price to be up front. Do you know that? A Search for Truth said divide and rule. Search for Truth, as you're watching, I'm going to ask you to share for me, please. Please share up this live. Everybody share up the live. Share up the live. Okay? They want to divide and rule. They're coming to tell me, oh, this person and that person and all the other things, they want to say about people. Winston, I know you're sharing. Share the live. If you come on, that's one thing that you can do, is to share the live. That's one thing that you can do. Share the live. We're coming together Saturday morning. All roads lead to Kensington, right there at Massey Car Park. Unity is strength. Nobody, they're not going to respect us. We're out there and three persons are out there. Numbers matter. Apostle Brady, bring out your people. This is important. When the people rise up, then the powers will have to fall down. But it's the people. We are the opposition. The people. It's all about the people. We are the opposition in this country. If we don't go out on Saturday, they're going to think the opposition is weak. We do not have a weak opposition. Yes? Yeah. So we're not going to allow that to happen. Well, let me just make sure that Caswell has the link for the actual show that he can send out to his people before I put him on. So let me make sure that he has that. So he's able to send it out to his folks for them to join. And I know you're all sharing. So we're just taking a moment. Take this moment to share, guys, before you hear from the general here on the screen. I call him a general. I call him a general. I call this man you see on the screen a general because you know why? He stands up for poor people. And it takes a lot of beating for it. And listen, I'm not going to be beating up anybody that is standing up for poor people. And I'm not going to join you in beating up on anybody standing up for poor people. So don't call me with no news about anybody. I'm not doing it. We're not going to divide and conquer. We're going to find what we have in common and we're going to work with each other. We're different. This is different. This is different. And we're going to be like that those people in Montgomery. We're going to be like those people in Montgomery, those Black people who came together, right? And decided that they are going to take a stand and they're going to protect their Black brother and sister. And that's what Mr. Caswell Franklin has done. I just shared it. I shared it to you, Mr. Franklin. If you need to share it out,
Yes,
to
I'm doing that.
you're doing that now. Okay, so we just wait until he does that while you share. We need more people on this live before Mr. Franklin starts to speak this evening. This evening, we are going to look at the NIS for sure. We're going to look at the pension bill. We're going to examine some of what has been they're saying in the Senate. I hear it's still going on at the moment. And Mr. Caswell Franklin is going to be speaking on all of these issues. Lynette Eastman is going to be speaking as well. We're also going to talk about Four Seasons Hotel and what happened there, and to ask some questions. I think if this is a democracy, we should be able to ask some questions. That's what we're doing this evening. We're asking questions, and we're hoping that this will live will go far and wide, so that the powers that be that we have put in authority will answer the questions that we're asking tonight. Yeah. Hi, good night, Mystic Angel. I see you there. Monica Hoyt, Marilyn Pinnock. Yes, Marilyn Pinnock, Apostle Brady from Saving the Lost Ministries. There, she has a powerful ministry online. Winston is there. Say good evening, guys. Say good night, good evening, where you're watching from. Yes, and we're gonna come together, as did the people in Montgomery, right? They were gonna come together. Yes, Mr. Franklin, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I am good. I am a bit tired because my day started very early this morning. I responded to a call from the nurses at the polyclinic in St. Philip. You will not believe those nurses are working on a construction site, at an abandoned construction site, because the government was fixing it. Something happened. I don't know what exactly happened, but the construction stopped abruptly. You now have water settled on the floor of 2 rooms in the polyclinic.
Mm.
2 inches of water. I went and I took a broom and I stirred the water. They smelled so bad I almost passed out. And this is inside the clinic where people are being treated, I'm not talking about outside in the yard or anything. This, you had to open the door and look inside there. You have
Wow.
water and nobody sees it. The place got mold, it got moss, it has it is worse than the one in St. Peter. I thought that was really bad. And nobody is caring, nobody is very interested in about, mind you, the patients who go there, because you cannot go there for health care. Everything is bad. So I spent a lot of time there this morning. Then I had to come back from disciplinary hearing, so the day was long for me. And so I will still, but I still wanted to speak here tonight because I heard I was attacked. I don't know what about attacks. I tell the truth. I have nothing to hide, really. If I got something you want, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Because I don't believe that I can put myself out there in the public, go after people for doing nonsense, and then nobody will come after me. I expect it. So it does not it doesn't bother me when they say that I do X or I do Y. I said, yes, of course I did X, I did Y, but I can explain myself, I can talk if I did it. Remember when we announced we were gonna have the stakeout, I said, but I can't because I have a disciplinary.
Yes, you said it on the program actually.
I told everybody, but it's still featuring in the Senate today, because the people who didn't see the program would think that I am some sort of but people Barbadians know me by now. I have a case that I could not allow those people to mistreat that young lady, and we were trying to get a date for 4 months: March, April, May, June, July, August, 4 months, and this thing is supposed to be finished in 42 days. And we only managed to get a date because the employer keep hiding. I was able to then go to that meeting and get a settlement for the young lady. I know she's quite happy. So if I didn't stick out, I would be sticking out on myself because it worked for me. So I wouldn't be inconveniencing anybody. So they try to make it look as though I'm a hypocrite.
Yes,
The
and
hypocrites.
that's what they do. That's what they do.
But these are the hypocrites because they lie to the people of this country and they come back repeating those lies every time. And I'm gonna start with the lies with Walden Adams.
Let me just someone here. Okay, Wayne Dredd. I see your message here. You said that the communication should be two ways because I was talking about unity. We should talk to each other. Wayne Dredd is saying. I tried to add you on WhatsApp. There was no response. So remember, you said you tried to add me. Am I? So the thing is, was I added? And that you wanted to, you're requesting 2 copies of No Dress for Timmy. The reality is that we gave out the last set at Walk Holy on Goverrnment. So we do not have any more at the moment. However, Wayne, if you would add me right now, send me a message on WhatsApp if you have me on WhatsApp. My number, I'm going to put my number there that you can message me because I know how these things are. Then people go away and, as you're saying, Mr. Franklin, and they go away and they said, listen, you're talking about unity and you won't respond to persons, but you know what? I never saw your message. I can't remember seeing it. You said you tried to add me on WhatsApp. That's the thing. You tried to add me on WhatsApp. Okay. So my number is there for the whole world to see. And you can go ahead and you can add me and send me a message. If I don't have your message and your number, I can't save 2 books for you. All right. So it's the same thing that is happening here with Mr. Franklin. And we love to do that. All right. But thank you for bringing it to my attention, Wayne Dredd. And I will, once we get the books should be ready again on the 26th of August, and I'll have them for you. Okay? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
These people know better. That and I suspected and I said that the $1.3 billion would have been the cause. I did not have any documented proof, only common sense. Because if you take $1.3 billion out of a fund that has about $4 billion in it, $5 billion in it, it has to impact on that fund.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, someone sent me the actual report from the National Insurance Actuary for 2019, and in the executive summary, the first thing the people said, the actuary said, was that 1.3 billion that went in the write-off was responsible, and they can have effects on the payouts from the system and the contribution level and all kind of stuff. They knew that. They knew that they had, even if they didn't understand that they were doing it, they actually told them very shortly thereafter that this will be the effect. They ignored that and come around and had Walden Adams on radio saying something completely different than what the actuaries were saying. Now, and they repeated it in the minister, and I have some choice words for him, because I will tell you, he cannot be a minister of the gospel and a minister of this Baptist party.
You're talking about Minister Colin Jordan, the Minister of Labor.
They thought their behaviors, the two different ministers, their behavior are inconsistent, and he can't serve God and the Baptist party government at the same time, because he went on the radio, but he went in the house, and he said things that I know to be untrue, that the actual report that he would have seen would have pointed out to him that was untrue. But no, he's saying the party line. He needs to leave government or he needs to leave the church. He can't take both. And I'm very serious about that. I'm ashamed of him. I had some respect for him, but that was in the past. You do not lie to the public. You do not stand in the House of Assembly and make the statements that you are making when I can't say knows, but you should have known, ought to have known, because it was documented in the actual report. So when you're saying that $1.3 billion that they took out for the write-off didn't have any significant effect, that was not true. The actuaries told them so that it was true. Why would you believe the actuary in one aspect and then ignoring the other one.
And I know you sent me that report, and I saw it in there. That's what they said, and these supposed to be the external persons who are auditing, right?
Precisely. And
And
also,
they are telling you this, but he is saying it is not.
Ronald Allen said it on brass tacks. They came on the radio and lied. I'm not saying they're going to misrepresent the truth. I'm not that diplomatic. They were lying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't say the boy lying in the Senate, but I'm not in the Senate right now. And they knew better. They were deceiving the people of this country to their own ends. And what are their own ends? Their own end is to get their hands on national insurance wholly and solely, not only the money, but the staff.
Yeah.
I have to go back to Errol Barrow. When Errol Barrow established the national insurance system scheme, as they call it then, he decided that the national insurance fund will grow to such income and such revenue in there that they don't want the board distracted with mundane things like personnel issues. So in the National Insurance Act, they provided at Section 11 that the national insurance staff will be deemed to be public servants because national insurance is a board.
Mm-hmm.
It is a board. It has always been a board.
Mm-hmm.
But the staff will be public servants. So the public servants will man that board. That means that the staff would have been employed by the Governor General, acting on the advice of the Public Service Commission. And they should have been employed independently of politicians. Because the politicians shouldn't have their hands in on that process. Mind you, they have gotten their hands on it, mind you, less. But at that time, Barrow didn't want the board to have to deal with personal issues and let the management of that fund go a begging.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to get their hands on the staff. And this is what all these amendments in National Insurance Act is all about. I was going through the old act and the new one. Let me give you some examples. They are amending several sections. I'm repealing a few. The new amendment, section 2 of that amendment says, the service is a body corporate to which section 21 of the Interpretation Act applies. Section 21 of the Interpretation Act just says that you can be a normal company, like you could sue and be sued in your own name and that kind of stuff. That's what it says.
Right.
It makes you a legal person. Section 21 makes anything that falls under Section 21 a legal person that can be sued or can sue, and it can do what a person can do to such an extent, except go to the bathroom by yourself because you can't get that. But other than that, you can behave as though you are a legal person. But no, this is what the old act is saying or has said. Section 3, and mind you, it is at Section 3 of the old act. So it isn't far, but they didn't have to go and do a lot of digging to find out what they were doing. Section 3 of the act says, and listen very carefully, it says, there shall be established for the purposes of this act a body to be called the National Insurance Board, comprised as follows. And it says 2 persons to be appointed by the minister by instrument in writing as representative of Employers Association. 2 persons appointed by the minister by instrument in writing represented by trade unions. 3 other persons appointed by the minister by instrument in writing. The chief labor officer and director of finance and economic affairs. They have changed the composition of the board slightly, a big thing. I'm not even worried about that. But this is what it says, Section 4, subclause 3.4, 3 subsection 4, 3.4, sorry. force incorporation. It says the board shall be a body corporate having perpetual succession and a common seal. The board may sue and be sued in its corporate name and may, for all intents and purposes, be described by such name. And upon and service upon the board or any notice or order or other document of whatsoever kind shall be executed by delivering the same or sending to the registered post just the secretary. So all that is saying is another way of saying what they're not saying.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't change anything. So when they said they're going to make it a corporate body and stuff, it was already a corporate body. They are deceiving you. When some person comes to me with a situation like that and said, I am going to change something to exactly what it is, I got to start to wonder. But most people do not know that national insurance is already a corporate body. And 4.3 says the board shall have the right to acquire and hold any real or personal property for the purposes for which the board is constituted and subject to the approval of the minister to dispose of or charge any such property. So the board already can hold property. And they're now coming on to say the board shall have the right to acquire and hold real or personal property. That's the new amendment. What is the difference between the old and the new? None.
Go ahead. Yes.
So something is amiss. Something is fishy. The only thing that is different that the board cannot achieve now, and as it stands now, is hiring staff. And then what they did. Section 5 to 11C of the amendments sets out that the board can hire these people, and it sets out the names of the persons, and it also set up their job descriptions. No act in Barbados prior to this one sets out the job description. Because if you have a job description, you put it in legislation, you can't change it unless you go back to Parliament to change the act. So they put a lot of fluff in there to confuse people. You don't put job descriptions in the act of Parliament. I've never seen it.
So what do you think is their reason? Because if it's already a corporate entity, it can be sued and be sued. It's already that, and they are now presenting this new bill. They said they amend the bill, and the only difference between the old and the new in terms of that particular section is the ability to hire, who can hire and fire. What would be the motivation for that? What are they trying to achieve?
I think it is people to hide things in plain sight. They want to do things that they can't that they apparently can't do now. So they have to create a whole facade around it, making it look as though they're doing something.
So they could put their own personnel there, that they have some kind of control over their personnel.
Because let me show you something, see? As it stands now, there's something called the Public Service Qualification Order. The Public Service Qualification Order is made by the Minister responsible for public service, and it sets out the qualifications for every person, but not every person, because the fire service, they have theirs in the act. They have the qualifications for the jobs in the public service. So if the job needs a master's degree or CXC, it is there in the qualifications order. A board, on the other hand, might set out qualifications in an advertisement, but those qualifications are not binding on anybody.
Yes.
So you can put people in, and the minister can say, "Oh, about qualifications, let my man get the job," because they told you already that there was one man at a statutory corporation. He had absolutely no qualifications. He went to secondary school. All he left with, all he took out from school was, I said, the empty lunch box. He didn't bring anything. He only took school lunch and kept an empty lunch box. No qualifications whatsoever. he ended up being a general manager of the National Housing Corporation. You want to know why? Because even though the manager might need business qualifications, on the face of it, he doesn't have to have them. So right now, national insurance will be populated by a lot of BLP yard folks who will take the jobs and they're ready to do them or not. This is what this is all about. Hiding in plain sight. That's what it is, you know.
And then those people will be able to do their bidding.
Precisely.
You
see, because there, you give me a job, I can get a job for Thy Kingdom Come based on my ability and the qualifications I have, and then I get a big job. You think I can go and do something, spoil it, and I can do everything possible to keep the BLP in power too, because then if the government changes and if people recognize that I ain't got it done, they're gonna get rid of me. So you are politicizing the public service and making them minions of the Barbados Labour Party. You have done it to other public offices already. You're saying that these heads of departments, you give a lot of fancy reasoning for making the chief education officer, the comptroller, customs, head principals, and all kind of stuff to say that they should give them a 3-year contract. It does not make sense in our system of government. Now, if you want to operate in the United States where the administration brings their servants and then when you leave, you go with them, so be it. But you have a system, we operate under what they call the Westminster system, the system that we took from England, where you have a permanent civil service and temporary politicians.
Right.
These temporary politicians now want to make sure that the civil service that can advise them temporary too. So that if you are seeking advice and you have a permanent civil service minister, you cannot do that. It's provided for in the legislation where you can be a civil servant, advise the minister, can tell the minister, look, minister, that is not thing. And if the minister insists, he said, well, these are my objections in writing. That's provided for in the Public Service Act. However, if you have your contract coming up soon and the minister asks you to do something, you think you can tell you no?
Exactly.
You weren't going to get your contract renewed. So this is what this is all about. This is about changing the service to service the Barbados Labour Party. And now they're changing national insurance to service the Barbados Labour Party. And the national insurance has more funds in it than any other entity in Barbados. So when those funds start to service the Barbados Labour Party, we are all going to be in trouble. Don't come out in March and let the government see and let the government get away with this. When you're then looking for a pension, like Elombi used to say, crap or smoke your pipe, because there'll be nothing there. You cannot trust them. They lied to you consistently. They lied to the reasons that they're giving you. You know, Marcia, there's something I must confess though. I think I've misled some people because I told you one of the programs that MPs get their pension at 50.
Right.
And people believe that they get their pension at 50 and move from there, and the other people get back to 68. No, when they get to 68, they get another pension.
Wait, who? You mean the politicians, these MPs?
The politicians. I didn't make myself clear enough because people don't understand that.
So listen, because you're educating us here. So tell me something. So we know, because we had notes from last time. Anybody still have the notebook? I still have mine. So they get a pension at 50.
At 50.
A whole 18 years before us, and then they get another one at 68.
Just like you and me now, when we reach 68, they will get one too.
People see why we need, listen guys, you see why we need to come out. We need to get out there on Saturday. Get out. Listen, whether if you have to put Granny in the wheelchair, whatever you have to do, bring the babies in the stroller. But on Saturday, August the 12th, make sure that we are on the outside because we made some mistakes, Barbados. We made a mistake, Barbados, you know that? We made a mistake. We made a mistake when we gave them all 30 seats. That was a mistake.
So
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
because when I listen to the commentary and stuff, I realize that people think that they get their pension from 30 and continue going till they die. No, that one that when they get at 50, they get at 50 and that continues until they die. And then they get another at 60 and that continues until they die as well. They get two. When most people in Barbados would only benefit from one, unless you go and buy a private pension plan. That is. I think I should have made myself clear because a lot of people, when they hear them speak and they see the comments that the people making, they just think that they get it 18 years ahead. They get one starting 18 years before you, and then they get the same one as you at 68.
Correct.
You see, so
wow. Listen, guys, we have to come out. We have no reason not to come out. And I have Rose Corbin there, but I want to get back to you. Because she wants to share something on what you're saying there, and give her personal experience. I was going to see if her mic works.
I will always give way to Rose.
Yeah, so let her come in. But we want to hear. Listen, Mr. Caswell, Franklin has a lot more to go, right? So drink a little coffee, bring a book, share the live. That's one thing you can do, and make plans to be there on Saturday. All right. So let me bring her in, and we have more. We're going to talk about Four Seasons Hotel. We've got some stuff to talk about that, and and to ask Miss Mottley some questions about that because she was involved in that. Yeah. So let me just bring Rose in. Hi, Rose. Can you hear me? Let me unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, Rose. Unmute your mic. I hope I can hear her. She has so much to say this evening. Rose, can you unmute your mic? Her mic is muted. I hope I can hear her. She has so much to say this evening. Rose, can you unmute your mic? So you've got to turn me off on whatever you're listening to. Right.
Say something.
So you've got to turn me off.
Hello, Marcia. Good evening.
Yes.
Oh, just one second. You can't hear you.
All right, take this off.
Oh, 1 minute, Marcia.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, I'm going to unmute her. You have to turn off whatever you're listening to me on. You will have to turn that off in order for us to have the conversation. In the meantime, guys, share. Glenn Griffith says, so why is Billy Miller still working? She has to be past retirement age, getting a pension. Will she be getting another one after her job is done? When she gets to 68, as far as they're concerned, and Billy Miller, right, should get another one, right, Caswell?
Well, she's getting that already. Billy's about 80.
Billy's about 80, so she's getting
she's
two
getting
pensions.
The parliamentary pension, and she's getting the pension from National Insurance.
So Billy is getting two pensions, okay?
Probably more money than she was getting when she was working.
Yeah. Toyota says, good evening. I believe it's all about control of the poor. They even attacked the credit union that helped poor people to get loans at a time when banks didn't lend to the poor or the poorest. That's correct. I agree with you, Toyota. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let me see if I can hear Rose now. Hi, Rose. Okay. So she's still having some problems. She's still having some problems there.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, Rose. Good evening. How are you? Good evening, Rose.
Hello, Marcia, Caswell.
Yeah,
Good evening.
yes. Well, finally, we're hearing you, and we're hearing you loud and clear. I know you came on late. You were listening to the Senate.
I was listening. I can scarcely hear you, but I'm trying. I was listening to the debate in the Senate. Good evening, everybody. Uh,
Yes.
if they forgot to say good evening, I'm trying to get myself sorted out here. I'm new to this, um, to StreamYard.
Okay.
Um, that's it. But I spent all day actually listening to the debate in the Senate, because I wanted to be as informed as possible and to be as objective in my thinking and in what I want to share, what I want to hear. And um, I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening and that you will allow me to share from some personal perspectives on why, which serve to inform why I'm here, why I am here. And it's quite personal and it is kind of reflective. And to say that I have been privileged to have encounters with the first director of NIS. But let me premise what I am saying here on the fact that I am the granddaughter of a survivor of the 1937 riots. My grandmother was shot at. Um, what she would say, and it was an embarrassment to me at that time, but she would always tell me the story of how she was shot at, thieving, according to her, thieving potato pickings from the Mount Plantation St. George. She and her husband to feed three hungry children. The first at that time was my mother, age 7, and she would tell me how she dodged the bullets of the white overseer on his horse, and she tumbled down the incline, not letting go of the crocus bag of sweet potato pickings. And that resonates with me, knowing that the conditions back then were so harsh that forced my grandmother to steal potatoes, and yet she survived. And her life and contributions to my life have shaped who I am today. Therefore, I have my crocus bag of potatoes on my head, and I roll and tumble just like she did. Secondly, I am here because I honored and privileged to have a father-in-law who was headed the secretariat. In fact, in many ways, he was the sole secretary to the beginnings of the federation. And he would tell us about the experiences of those days trying to come together to form the federation. And he served his country, this country, at highest levels. He served in the early days of independence with the first prime minister. He was an acting a deputy high commissioner to the um, British High Commission, the London High Commission, Barbados High Commission in London. He at times acted as High Commissioner, and he retired as a permanent secretary. And so he would tell us of the early days of pre-independence, independence, and post-independence.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then here comes Edward Humphrey Walker, after whom the building at NIS is named after. He and
Mm-hmm.
my father-in-law were contemporaries, young civil servants together, and they were quite close. Actually, they bought land together here at Manchester, St. Michael. They built their houses across from each other, and they remained friends until their death. Humphrey preceded my father-in-law, but Uncle Humphrey was the first director of NIS when it was formed in June 1967. Actually, it was around his birthday at that time, his birthday. He was born in June. And Uncle Humphrey served up until 1979
Mm.
as director, the first director of NIS. And he would tell me stories about those early days and what prompted the conceptualization and the subsequent um, forming of the what is known today as the NIS. And Uncle Humphrey would let me know that it evolved. I made some notes that it evolved from a, 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 a decision to help the poor and the disenfranchised.
So,
And
so the NIS, so the decision was to the foundations of the NIS was to help the poor.
yes,
That's really what it was all about. Okay, continue. I just want to make sure I understand that. Go ahead.
and you would know too, Marcia, it would help to know that Humphrey at that time, I call him Humphrey because, that was her affectionate term for him, Humphrey or Uncle Humphrey, that he would have come from a background of helping as in welfare and being the chief probation officer and the chief welfare officer and being chosen um, at that period soon after independence to head the social security. And he would tell us that repeat he would repeat the story of the telephone call he received from the then prime minister, um, Arab Barra, one of our national heroes, Honorable Arab, his Excellency, the Honorable Arab Barra. He received a call a Saturday morning, I think he said, from Prime Minister Barrow, who said, Humphrey, I know that the NIS the Social Security funds. It's, they're sitting there. You've got quite a bit of money. I like some of that money to undertake some project. And Humphrey stopped him in his tracks and said, "Don't go any further. Not one blind right saint. That money is the money taken from the people, for the people, for the poor, for the transient persons who have no other source, no assets, or no other source of income to take care of them after when they reach a certain age, pensionable age. You will not get one blind right cent from that fund. Don't ask me." And he said, the Prime Minister Barrow kept saying, "I want some of, what you doing with the money? I want the money." And he said, "Over my dead body, or I'll resign. I will resign and let the people know that you came for the money." And with that, Humphrey was sometimes very robust in his expressions. And he said he abruptly finished that conversation. And he was adamant, even when he recounted that encounter, that conversation, you could see the passion and the annoyance as he relived it. He said, how could he come for the people's money? And he said, "I would prefer to resign than give him that money, lose all my time in government than give him that money." And he said a couple of days after, he got another phone call from the Prime Minister. And before Prime Minister Barrow could start, he asked him, he tell, "I hope you don't come for that money, because what I tell you before remains. You're not get a ray blind cent of that money. It's not yours. It's not a bank. It's not a deep well, or the pockets are not deep that you could put your hand in and take out. It's for the people and their future." And he saw it as we say in the jingle, it's a lifeline. He saw it as a lifeline for a particular group of persons who had no security, the artisan, the self-employed, the disenfranchised, those who had no land, no asset to ensure that they had a comfortable future. And he would finish the story by saying, the deputy said, "I hear you. I hear you. I see I'm not going to get that money," something to that effect. And, like kind of complimenting him for the position he took. And then he reminded him, "But you know who you talking to? You talking to the Prime Minister. He say, no, that dipper, but you still ain't getting them."
And I love that story. I love that story. I don't know about Caswell, but I love hearing that story, because we are hearing about Edward Humphrey Walcott, and he was the first director of the NIS, and his heart was for the poor, and he was willing to stand up. Guys, how you feel about this story? Don't you love this story? And he was able to stand up to Edward Barrow, the father of this nation, and said, "You're not getting that money from the NIS." Because they see
money. And Marcia and Caswell, and to whomever we are sharing this, with whomever, that every time I sing the lines of our national anthem, strict guardians of her heritage, firm craftsmen of her faith, I think of Humphrey Walcott, because he exemplified provide that strict guardian of our heritage. It wasn't that much at that time, but it was sufficient enough for him to say, I am guarding this. I'm
Mm.
guarding it because it is part of our faith. It is part of what happens to us down the road. And then
Mm-hmm.
I smile. I just love the position he took. But at
Yes.
the same time, I wouldn't want to say I weep, but at the same time, I am concerned that we have fewer strict guardians of our heritage.
Mm.
We have fewer persons who will stand up and get away from the narrative. And I listened to quite a lot of narrative today in the debate. Some gripping and riveting, others could have been dispensed off in a matter of minutes. I saw the in some of them, and I must compliment Senator Crystal Briggs, um, as well as Dr. Christina Heinz is her name, uh, the Honorable Dr. Chelston Braffett to some extent. The fact that you saw a semblance of that um, guardianship um, concerns, and if I could speak to uh, Dr. Braffett, he started, I made a note here, may look at that note a minute, and he said, uh, I made a note, not funds of government, not to be used as development funds by government, but for the people. The funds are for the people, put there by the people, and therefore any use of those funds should be more for development initiatives for the people. And that gives me some kind of comfort to hear some echoing of what um, Uncle Humphrey would have said in more robust terms. And similarly, uh, what Senator Crystal Driggs would have posited in her delivery. And we need more of that. Here I am saying, make sure that you guard the funds, however you treat them. I mean, um, Caswell could speak more to that. But I would like us to, in this forum, and as we engage in educating and informing and enlightening and 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 and, and engaging persons, that we become the guardians of our heritage. Since there is not an opposition in the lower house or in the upper house, we need to be those guardians of our heritage. Heritage is something that has been put in place to be enjoyed now and for the future. And therefore, we need to take up that mantle that I listened, I took notes today, and what I have found beyond, some historical overview or framework where dates are given, of the how the fund evolved and where it came from. in terms of the colonial days and the 1800s up to pre-independence, but it is just a rhetorical account of facts, a rhetorical account of historical events, but there is no gut to it. It is not premised in what we would call the socio-economic conditions of that time that prompted it. And it is like, okay, here's the background to it. Let us fast forward into the present and propel into the future.
Mm,
And that
excellent.
is what concerns me, that there are those gaps that account for why this thing happened,
Mm-hmm.
how it got here, how it was preserved, and in a sense to how it has been misused, and
Yes.
to hasten into any uh, any period. I'm looking for a word, into any activity that is rushed and not thought through. I am saying like, okay, let's move on. You know how
Mm-hmm.
say hear you. Let's get on and
Mm-hmm.
pick up the cell phone
Mm-hmm.
and listen to latest the latest trend. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing it as the latest trend, and
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage us that although it has been passed in the upper Senate, that we remain the strict guardians of our heritage. And before I go, Marcia,
Yes.
share it briefly with you and with Caswell. I worked in the as a teacher for several years, and then I resigned and I went into um, other jobs which were interesting, which were paying well, and met my needs at that time. I remember some of them, there was the NIS reduction, but as time progressed, I was getting not steady long term employment. It was more short term on request projects, unpredictable. As the need arose, you know how it goes, Marcia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Arose, you were called in. I remember being concerned that on reaching the age that I am now, that I would not have enough. Yes, I would have enough contributions in from my past employment with government as a teacher, but I would not have enough to give me a comfortable contributory pension, right? As well, am I explaining it all right? I would not have enough to be comfortable, and here I am starting to work from age 17. I called up NIS repeatedly until I reached the desk of the one of the former directors. And I put my case to him. I said, look, I would like to make my own contribution,
Mm-hmm.
increase you know, increase what I have so that I would have a more comfortable retirement pension or retiring. I explained my position and my willingness. I said I'm not employed in the public sector or the private sector. I don't have a small business. I work on contract but there are unpredictable, there are seasonable, and there are seasonal. But I am willing to continue paying. Please
Mm-hmm.
tell me what to do. He chuckled, he laughed, he said, this is new to me. I never had this kind of thing. I never thought of it. I said, I'm putting a case now. There are persons like myself out there who want to, but we don't fit into the categories you have. Please look at it and make provision. I'm willing to pay. He said that, that does work. I don't fit into any category. Needless to say, I am going to get a pension next year, but I am not satisfied with what I'm going to get, knowing that I made a personal plea to make my own contribution when I was able to, or give me some kind of scale where that I could pay a lump sum or make arrangements to pay. However, but I wanted to build up my lifeline. And
Mm-hmm.
that director, the one who was supposed to head and manage and think strategically and put strategic systems in place and be a visionary, never acted on that. And therefore, there are so many of us out there who wanted to make a contribution. We are now um, we've been left out there because of lack of vision. And I am saying that the way forward need not just uh, 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 after the fact a reaction, but there should be strategic action. And I'm talking about over 2 decades, about 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
I was very much in my prime, 2 decades, when I approached that person.
I
About
hate
two, just
to disillusion
on
you.
2 decades in that time. And
One second, Rose. 1 second, Rose.
that contribution, and I close. Thank you.
I, I hate to
You're
disillusion you,
welcome.
but that is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Putting people in place that don't know the job, but just because they have connections. I think I know who that director is. Trust me. He came from outside of national insurance, didn't have a clue. He became director. He left national insurance and he still didn't have a clue. My thing is, all that she asked for was already provided for in the legislation. Because if you're a self employed person, you pay contributions on a quarterly basis. The minimum contributions you will pay is on $91 a month. So if you are not paying, if let's say this month you don't make any money, you pay the
Mm-hmm.
contribution on $91. And if you make money, you pay on what you make. Because your income fluctuates. You pay on what you earn.
Mm-hmm.
He sat at the top, didn't have a clue, messed up everything he put his hand on. As a matter of fact, he bought a computer system for national insurance for $9 million, and after fixing it for $60 million, they still had to go and get a new one. This is what we are talking about. You put the wrong people in the wrong place, and this is what will happen when you make these changes in national insurance. You're gonna be able to put more of your yard folks more easily, because you see, our Constitution was amended in 1974 to provide that the Prime Minister must be consulted on who should become permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, heads of departments, and their deputies. It doesn't say that the Prime Minister makes the decision, but from Tom Adams' time, because when Barbados amendments, he never had a chance to use them because he lost office. So and the thing is, the Barbadians, their party said that the amendments were wrong and they're going to repeal them as soon as they get power. The march, the gamos and everything. Those amendments are still there, and the prime ministers are still being consulted on who should become head. So and not only consulted, but who decide that who will become the head of the department. So when you put these people as head of the department that don't have a clue, this is what happens. Royals don't get a proper pension. And as a result of this, so and now this, with these amendments to the National Insurance and Social Security Act, it will now become widespread. You wouldn't only have to be consulted, you wouldn't have only do the director and the deputy, you will be able to do it from the maid up. The politicians will have control of everything in national insurance, the staff and the funds. It will be their slush fund. That's what it's all about. And if Barbadians don't wake up, you can still do a little bit you got left, but I think they might still be ramming when you get old. So you would have to use that because they're gonna use it. They're gonna use the money and they keep on using it. Trust me. Look around Barbados, you can see all the projects that was built on the national insurance funds, and I don't know if national insurance is getting the rent for the buildings that the government is renting from them. Because the government don't pay its bills. You got help for the government to pay a bill. So if the government got to pay a bill where the minister is responsible, and the minister think minister can pay a rent, the minister.
And I mean, they're putting their own people. They want. I mean, with this new bill, they want to seemingly want to put their own people. They want to have, be able to staff the NIS, and that's where Caswell is saying we have to be careful of. I want to thank Mrs. Corbin, Rose Corbin, for coming on tonight. But before she goes, Lynette, did you ever hear? Good night, Lynette. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Unmute. Okay. She's not.
Okay, good night.
Yes, so good to see
Thank you.
Miss Eastman. And I'm sure, I don't know if you heard this wonderful story, about Edwin Humphrey Walcott, who refused when Barra called him to dip his hand in the money. This man had so much integrity and a love for poor people. He says, no, you can't touch this money. Did you hear that part of the story?
Yes, I did hear that story. And I was having a conversation with someone recently where I said to them, in times past, you used to have individuals working in the civil service that people used to, in criticizing them, they used to say, but he behaving like if the money belonged to him, or if this belonged to him, because they took what they were doing seriously. They were responsible for this, and it didn't matter who called. I mean, they would be as respectful as they had to be, but it didn't matter who called. If they had a certain duty, if they called for information, for example, that and they had signed sworn an oath of secrecy, where the information was to go to a particular person or could only go if there was a court order, they would never provide the information. But I somehow think that we're moving away from that. And I don't think Barbados understands how important it is to follow those principles. And I think we took it for granted. We took it for granted for a long time that everything would be all right, because we didn't, and we never valued those people. There are certain people that we value. We value the MPs, we value all the prime ministers, we value those people. And, then we're very critical of many of the individuals in the civil service, many of whom were top-notch civil servants, who took their job seriously. And not only that they took their job seriously, but they were well trained and what they were doing. It wasn't just a pick. And Barbados used to be very proud to send these people just about anywhere. The other thing that used to happen is, people have got so used to it. But I recall there was a time that the politicians didn't speak on everything. The permanent secretaries spoke on certain issues. You hardly see that now, because there's a difference in the role between the two, between the role of the politician and the role of the civil servant. But they've become blurred. The respect for the office of permanent secretary and other heads of department, I don't think that's there anymore, unfortunately. And Barbados is going in a very wrong direction by going in that way. Truthfully, if we are not careful, we will destroy what we have spent so many years building, and which people admired. People admired not only in the Caribbean, but within the Commonwealth and elsewhere, that our systems, we had good systems. And as I had mentioned before, we had good systems that supported the political directorate, that whenever it changed, you had good people there to provide them with support, so that there was always a smooth transition whenever governments changed. So yes, I heard that story, and really it is representative of the type of civil servant that we had back in those days, and public officers.
Yeah, it's a powerful story, and I could see Mr. Walcott turning in his grave right now. I could see why, Rose, you would want to, you were trying to get an opportunity to speak because you wanted people to understand the foundations of the NIS, and that really what the passion of it and the heart of the NIS was to protect poor people, elderly people, when they got older and did not have enough. They don't have rich relatives who would be able to do, pay for a private pension plan. And there are lots of those people in Barbados. There are lots of older people, lots of elderly people. And you know what, Rose and Lynette, that's why I come on the show. That's why I have this show, for those people, for those very old people, elderly people who do not have rich children and a lot of money left in the bank. I saw somebody said, well, that's why you prepare. Not everybody's able to do that. And we know that, and we must stop saying those kinds of things. And that is what, go ahead, Lynette.
Because on Sunday, there were a couple of stories floating around. One of them had to do with the private sector response to the issue with national insurance. And, they're pointing people in the direction of private pension funds, private investment, etc. There's nothing wrong with that. But there are many people in Barbados who just don't have that extra money after and there, as you said, there are many of them. We should stop pretending that it is only a small percentage and that you got the middle class and the upper class and somehow that is 2/3 of Barbadian society. That's not true. A lot of people who have who look as though they might be middle class because of the way they dress and the car they drive, really, it is still paycheck to paycheck, from paycheck to paycheck. And they don't have those additional funds, those extra funds to invest in anything else. And, people talk as though, I don't know why they do it, but they talk as though Barbadians have never tried to invest in anything, because apparently they've forgotten trade confirmers, because they seem to have forgotten CLICO, because they seem to have forgotten the investment in the treasury bills, etc. They seem to have forgotten. So, and the talk where CLICO was concerned was that certain people got phone calls and other people didn't get phone calls about taking out their money. So what is it exactly that you're saying to Barbadians? Barbadians are not stupid. They have tried to invest in other things with, in many instances, poor results. You can't afford, many people can't afford to just risk their money to put 10,000, another 50,000, $100,000 there. Most people can't do that. Most people are just barely supporting their families. And that includes people who we might think are professionals that we always assume have money. But they don't necessarily have more money because they have a degree and they're part of a particular profession. So I'm glad that that point was made because most people cannot afford those other investments.
Yes, and I wanted to make that very clear. And as I said, that's really why I come on here. So I know they're trying to begin to throw mud on each and every one of us, and I say to you, go ahead and you throw the mud at Lynette and you throw the mud at me and at Caswell. And because Rose is here now, you're going to go dig up something on Rose. That's what people are doing. But it's really, you can't stop us because we understand what the purpose is. We understand. We see the little old ladies, who are on the bus. Well, I told you I was taking the bus, and even when my car got fixed, I deliberately was still taking the bus for at least one day a week because I wanted to keep, Lynette, I want to stay with the people, right? And this person here says something. It used to break my heart. They said when the old farmer sugar workers came to cash those checks, some only used to get $76, and they have to pay phone, light, or water was coming out. I said, my God, I hope they have children to help them. And that's why I come on here. I see them on the bus. One of the old lady could barely walk, Rose, and I asked her, I said, why are you coming out? I didn't understand. Why can't you stay? Why you take going on the bus? Even do COVID. She said, Mom, I have to get the pension check. That's how I live. Huh? There's another little old lady with the roof falling in. I know my friend Steve was Skeet helping her with her home. All she has is a pension check. So that's why we need to go up there. Nobody on here getting paid. We're doing this for you. We're doing this for all the elderly people. I tell you all, this is elder abuse that is going on. When you see, I agree with this person who put the thing up there, right? So I'm glad, Rose, thank you for coming on, that you established that, and for us. And I just want you to say a final word before we jump into Four Season Hotel. I have some stuff we want to discuss with Lynette about that. But can you just tell the people why they should come down on Saturday? And first of all, are you going to be there on Saturday, Rose?
Um, I would encourage ourselves. You're hearing me, Marcia?
Yes, loud and clear.
I would encourage ourselves um, to show solidarity one with another on matters like this. Um, I'm concerned that I'm concerned about the state of affairs um, without a voice for the voiceless. And I think that we need not just to be one voice now or several voices crying in the wilderness, but I think that we need to lend a voice, even though it might seem as if no one is hearing. We would have seen from last week that our voices were heard,
Mm-hmm.
and that although I listened, and Marcy, I listened. I went back to school, Miss Eastman, today. I i did my research. I read an article, not in its entirety, but a paper by Professor Alms, looking at I have made a note and I said that I will share it. It's called An Analysis of Economic and Social Development in Barbados. It was written in 2001, and it's an interesting paper because it looked at the poor, pre-independence, post-independence, and post-independence. And it really captured the socio-economic development in Barbados during that period. And it looked at all the things that even the same social security system enabled, the
Mm-hmm.
conditions that existed before its formation, and what it enabled. And I also went on the NIS website. I read up about the NIS and all of that. I also came across a very good article in Barbados Today last year, June, written
Mm-hmm.
by Charles Herbert. And that was a very good exposition on the NIS and its development from way back and the trends now. And I listened, and my heart I knew it was going to happen. I knew that it would pass. And it was like, what next? What next? What can we do next? And I heard the voice saying, continue to educate, continue to mobilize, continue to keep persons informed, continue to enable, put an enabling environment so people will become sufficiently empowered to speak for themselves, to ask questions, so that our environment, our nation would be a nation getting back to the point where people were able to speak, and where people were able to 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 not only speak but speak out and seek answers and get responses. We cannot leave it to a group of persons who feel that, you know, they they know it all, they have it all. But Barbados, we've invested in education, we've invested in a lot of social, uh, improve social conditions and context, and let us get out and I don't even want to say send a message, but to say we have heard and we are not satisfied. I mean, I could say to myself, I don't have to. I just wait out a couple more months and I will get what's mine, and that's it. But I feel that um, where there's no vision, the people perish. And
Yes.
and we have to get our people to start envisioning their present. If you could envision your present, your now, and your future. And Saturday's um, march allows us to say, look, we are concerned, and even if it is after the fact, we want you to know that we have heard and we are not satisfied with what has been done and how it has been done.
Yes.
And that is what I would say. Let us get out, never mind that it's past. We know it would have happened. But say, look, we are becoming informed, we're becoming educated about these matters, and we are acting on what has occurred. And it will say that don't do it again. Don't do it like this.
Yeah. Well,
Don't.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rose. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday as we go out. Okay. I
Yes,
know there are people they have questions about the Four Seasons, so we want to jump into that. But thank you. And we will, at the end of the program, please stay on, everybody, because we have to talk about the results of this Senate hearing today and what are our next steps. What do we do? Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you so much, Rose. God bless.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Yes, Lynette. Lynette, thank you for staying with us. Kamhari says, I've learned so much here. I'm sharing my family members, even the ones who are disengaged. Thank you, Marcy, and all the panelists and guests. Please do not be bullied and continue, please. Yes, we will continue whether it is passed or not. That still has another stage here to get to the president. And so we still have time. We are going to continue to push as our one of our teachers, Caswell, told us last time. Listen, even if it's past, we still have some time. So you come out on the march. Don't give up, Barbadians. Don't give up. Right. So, Miss Eastman, let me just ask you. The Four Season Hotel. This was brought to my attention sometime in I think 2021 when the AG report came out. And in the AG report, they were talking about different funds that were owed to the government and how it was written off of the books. And as an accountant, a lot of people don't know, but I'm actually a CPA. As an accountant, it made me wonder, like, how did they arrive at that? How did they just? I mean, it was just so many millions of dollars that were written off, if I remember correctly, or it's over. It could be. I think it was millions of dollars. And so I wondered, and that forced me to look at the Four Season Hotel a little closer. And when I looked at it, I saw that I looked at some of the players that were part of the Four Season Hotel. I realized that the Prime Minister, our current Prime Minister, was the lawyer that was dealing with the Four Season Hotel, and that the economic advisor, the current economic advisor, AVINASH, was also one of those players in within that structure of the Four Season Hotel. And it made me wonder, is there some conflict of interest? So why did they write this off? What happened? And then on this show, I learned that some of that money that they wrote off from Four Season, well, not that they wrote off, but that some of the NIS money was loaned to or invested into Four Season Hotel. So I just wanted you to shed some light on that, Miss
Well,
Eastman.
it is actually quite a long saga, which some people might actually understand better than me. It was across more than one administration, um, starting probably back in, well, the Four Seasons Hotel Barbados. Doing my research, I saw was incorporated in 1988, and then um, as we know, but Stuart Sandals had owned the property, and then it was sold. And then this company called Clearwater was incorporated, where the shares were owned by the government. And, I recall there being an issue as to why is the government getting so intimately involved in a project that really should have been a private sector project. Because if you know where Paradise is, I mean, it is on a lovely beach in Barbados. So you would imagine that they should have been able to gather private sector investment, but business people know how to not spend their money. So if you can get a government to spend, if you can get a government to guarantee, well, you do that. That's better for you. But there were a lot of big names involved who were interested in purchasing villas, etc. So it seems as though Barbados invested the taxpayers, and I think maybe we should agree to use certain terminology, because I think when we say government money, people seem to feel it has nothing to do with them. But the government doesn't own anything. All of it is owned by us, the people. Is that, the people who are in government, that's just a structure of people who are required to carry out certain functions. So the government wrote off $124 million that was invested. And then in addition to that, there was the $120 million out of the NIS, which we're concerned about. And another 9.8 million that was invested out of the National Insurance Fund. Now, in thinking about this, in terms of what Barbados was trying to do with Four Seasons, now, because I don't know, we seem, apparently, if you run and you win a seat, somehow you are, I don't know, if when you are sworn in, you become clothed in knowledge which you didn't have before. So here you have a Minister of Finance, a former MP as a lawyer, and AVINASH Prasad trying to make decisions about a rather complex commercial project.
So hold a minute.
Business
Before,
project.
yeah, and as I tell you, and I put on my CPA hat, so I totally understand what you're saying. You're dealing here with big money, right?
Yeah.
And here you have people that, as you said, they become an MP. I always wonder about that. That happens with pastors too. You become a pastor, and all of a sudden, you're a counselor, you're a businessman, you're everything. I don't understand that. But anyway, so you had AVINASH, you had Mottley, who was a former MP at the time, no longer an MP. But she was a lawyer on this project. This is and you had Sinclair. Was it Sinclair?
Chris Sinclair, yes, was
Chris
Minister
Sinclair,
of Finance.
right? And he was a Minister of Finance, and so you had these three here, and you're saying that $124 million was invested into the Four Seasons, and this is of our money, of government money.
That's our money.
It's but remember, this is a private project, and I'm repeating because I want people to get it right. And 120 million of that you're saying was from the NIS.
Yes.
100
is US 60 million.
US 60 million, right? Because I have that in my notes as well. But I had it as 60 million. I thought it was Barbados, but it's 60 million US. So you're correct, because I researched that and I have that. $120 million from the NIS. And then they took another 9.8 million from the NIS again.
In 2012, this is what I'm seeing from, I guess, one of the respected newspapers that this is what Avinash Prasad is saying, because he was saying that there's some hope that we might be able to get this money back, but that hasn't materialized.
Well,
Also,
I heard in the Senate today, the 9.8 million, or 8 million of it or something, and somebody can correct me. Senator Cummings says that it has been returned to the NIS, but we don't know. What we don't know about is the other 120 million. So that other piece of it, is that it? Because
so the 8 million has been returned to the NIS by whom?
I don't know, and I think on like a program like this, because we want to ask questions, and what we're saying is, show us. It's our money. Show us. We want the paperwork on
Yes,
this, and this is why we
yes,
need to come out and march. We want the paperwork on this. Show us that you have repaid. You said you repaid 9.8 or 8 million of the whole lot of money, because this is about 130 million. Okay, we didn't get the rest. You said you put on part of it. We want to know where. Give us the paperwork. Go ahead, Lynette.
and what you were talking about in terms of the Auditor General's report, and this is so sad. The Auditor General seems to be one of those good civil servants that we should really respect, who does his work, works very hard, and then nothing comes of it, because he said in his report that there's no explanation as to why the $124 million was written off. That was just written off. Why? Yeah, where did it go? It was actually money. Where did it go? Why was it written off? And this then is a hotel project, which actually a lot of people are looking at, and it just smells of corruption in Barbados, of a type that honestly Barbados used to laugh at other countries when they saw this kind of thing, and say like, we would never do that. But here we are now in a very similar position, and I don't know if it is because we think that we can't do anything about it. But I would wish Barbadians to know that if we don't say something now, give them an inch, they take a yard, give them a yard, they take a mile. So this will just keep going on and on and on, because you would notice today in the Nation newspaper, there's a story with $80 million, I think it is, to be invested overseas. $80 million out of the NIS to be invested overseas. And it's an article that takes up about 2/3 of a page, more than half a page. But they never say where this $80 million, where's this $80 million going? It says US $40 million overseas. And as I said in talking to people, if I were to tell somebody now that I'm going to go overseas and study, anybody that has the slightest interest in me would say where. Because what does overseas mean? Which country? What is it you're investing in? None of that is in the article. In the article, you just have a defense about you're required to diversify the fund. The recommendations are that we have to do some investment outside of Barbados. Nobody is saying that isn't true, that it would be good to earn some money on the money that we put into the fund, and to invest it sensibly. But all they have condescended to say to us, the public of Barbados, is that it's going overseas. That's how, like, when people were sneaking out of Barbados back in the day when they didn't want anybody to know, they just say they're going overseas. They wouldn't tell you they're going to Canada, England, or America. So, like, what's that about? So, the blatant disrespect that was shown to Barbadians when that bill was sneaked into the House never circulated in the official gazette until it reached the upper house. The same blatant disrespect continues. And, I want to make the point that, people listening to me, I guess you've heard people make this point over and over again. No, they did not say invested with whom and where. No, they did not. They did not. The page was just made up of a lot of different comments from recommendations. So, but I mean, I am a bit concerned about the number of people you have in Barbados who have received the best education possible. We're in 11 plus mode now with where people are going. So people are going off to schools. A lot of money will be spent on getting all the paraphernalia and all that. And that was done for all of us, by whatever our parents could afford. But most people, practically everybody, when they were going into secondary school, parents will find the wherewithal to get the shoes and the bag and whatever and send us off. And now that we've been educated, there seems to be a large cadre of Barbadians who simply say, we can't do nothing about it. I don't get caught up in them things. And some of these people would be described as the brightest and best in our society in terms of how they were educated. Now, I don't know if they don't look at other countries when they're imbibing all that is coming from abroad. They would notice that you have nonprofit organizations that would be headed by a surgeon, but that person isn't only practicing medicine. They're involved in some other nonprofit doing good for their country. So they're not thinking, oh, I'm educated, I'm a surgeon, no, like I'm a top surgeon. And every now and again, I would just write a check. They actually they get involved in charities. They make a difference to their country. So we have a whole set of people, well educated, good jobs, income, nothing to be too much afraid of, because even if they couldn't work here, they could probably work overseas. And they're just going to work, going to their nice house, driving in their nice car, and not contributing to the society in that way. They're not standing up for the people who might be poorer than them, who might be less well educated. To me, it is embarrassing. I actually feel embarrassed about the generation of people I represent who will not lift a hand, but keep saying, well, there's nothing that you could do about it. We're interfering with the people. Like, if it is the assets of Barbados belong to us. And I'm just afraid, just as we sat back and we allowed crime to escalate without trying to look out for our young people and especially our young men to see what they needed, the same thing will happen to our country. You had a country like Venezuela, for example, which whenever it was described in the news before, you used to talk about the oil-rich country of Venezuela. And then it came to a point where the people didn't have anything to eat. They were eating mangoes. There was no food on the shelves. So if Barbadians think that that type of thing can't happen to us, they have another thing coming. Barbados succeeds because of discipline. I keep saying this is because of discipline. We don't have much, but what we have to be good stewards of. And right now we're not being good stewards because the Auditor General pointed out this $24 million write-off. You have people like Crystal Howell and other people who talk about it. We talk about it for a couple of days and then we don't do anything else. We don't say anything. $124 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a small nation. And we should be concerned. it is like a slap in the face. It is like if they consider us to be clowns because they put that article in the paper precisely on the day when they knew they were going to pass the NIS bills in the upper house. So basically they're saying I don't give a what y'all think. What
Correct.
y'all say,
Correct.
we not stopping, we doing what we feel like. So I can tell you that we carrying $80 million of your money abroad and don't ask us anything about it.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, and that's what I mean. You know, this is the administration that says, you know, I care, and the people have a problem with the bill, and they are. You're right. On the day when it's going to the Senate, they put this out and have a white man telling us for us to believe it. That's all. That's another part of the psychology of it. You know, we're going to
Can I,
and we're going to
Well,
invest money overseas.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
can I just
Caswell.
can I just add something to this thing because I'm going
Yeah.
to show you how chaotic this government is. This bill was not supposed to be debated today. They told all the people in the integrity group and everything else, oh, today is the day for the integrity and public life bill. Then they discovered somehow that they're not going to have enough senators to pass it. How I know this? Because Mr. Nigel Jones QC, Deputy Clerk of Parliament, sent a letter to the members of the Senate, and it says, Dear Honorable Senator, I'm instructed to inform you by the Honorable Leader of the Senate that a number of honorable senators will not be present for the 31st sitting of the Senate being held on Wednesday, August 9th, 2023 at 11 a.m. So they couldn't pass it because of that. And he goes on to say, further, it is desire and intimation of the leader to introduce the bill in the National Insurance and Social Security Amendment Bill and the Pension Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2023 in a cognate debate. Now, this is the catcher here. It says, please note that notice of the Pension Miscellaneous Provisions Bill 2023 was given on Saturday, July 29th, 2023. It was inadvertently not read a first time at the last sitting, but will be done so next Wednesday. They didn't even read the bill a first time in the Senate. But they come in there and sneak it in today and do all the first, second, and third, everything else one time.
As
This
as
is
they've
how
been doing,
chaotic.
you know, for everything else.
This is how chaotic the Senate, government, everything about Barbados now dealing with Barbados, the party administration is. They just do it as they like. And as they see the people on there saying, if we don't give a, well, they used to care. Remember, they used to say, Mayor cares.
Yeah.
Now
No,
she's on the
they
platform saying she don't give a,
give up.
and agreeing with the crowd when the crowd shout out what she doesn't give. That was so gross. But
She don't give up, and that's what I'm looking at and said, who is she saying that to? Who is she directing that to? You know. But what do you
the
have
people of this
anything?
country,
The people of the country, Caswell. Do you have what do you know about before Lynette continue? Any information because Miss Senator Cummings is saying that the 9 million, it's supposed to be 9.8 million based on the notes I have here, that was taken in 2012 out of the NIS. She said that that portion was repaid. But Lynette is saying that there was $120 million that from the NIS. So what do you know much about that?
well, Lynette said everything that I knew, and she said a little bit more. I really don't have the information because, trust me, when I hear Lisa Cummings saying something, and unless I have the facts in my own possession, I don't quote her. Trust me when I tell you that. I don't
Yeah.
quote or actually believe anything she says unless I have the documents to prove it. I will have to see the documents.
Go
Now
ahead, Lynette. Yes.
she says the 9.8 million. The truth is, I really had not heard of the 9.8 million till I started to research it again. I always knew about the 60 million, Barbados 1.120 million. So I don't know, you know, if you actually Google it, if you go and you research it, you would see that that's what everybody was saying. I don't see how it could suddenly be reduced to 9.8 million. But you see, there are a lot of things that are being done. There's a lot of psychology, you know, being worked out. No, Rodden Adams was chosen specifically to be the face of that newspaper article because he's the deputy chairman. You have the minister. Um, why pick his face?
Mm-hmm.
His because he probably is not tarnished as other people. Plus, we also know that he is Tom Adams' son. Everybody knows Tom Adams, whether you liked him or not. He was recognized to be a brilliant man, very bright. And
Eh,
therefore, we are
you
now to put all of this into Rawdon. And I don't have anything against Rawdon. I think he's quite a nice person as far as I know. Um, but somehow, because I see his face, they're supposed to convince me that all is well with the NIS. No, he is just being put up there as a poster boy. And, you know, Rawdon would come to know that if he doesn't know that already. In fact, he might not even have known that they're going to use his picture. Because why use his picture when you have a chairman and you have a minister? In fact, I'm surprised that with all that is going on, why doesn't the Minister of Finance speak on these issues and the stewardship of the government with respect to the money of Barbadians? That's really who should be speaking now to clear the air, not Rawdon.
The
Rawdon
Minister of
probably wasn't
Finance.
even here when a lot of that stuff went on.
So the Minister of Finance is still the Prime Minister.
It's still the Prime Minister, yes.
And we have not heard her. Well, I have not heard her say much about this. There was an article in the newspaper. Actually, funny enough, it was August 12th, 2022. Actually, 1 year, guys, 1 year from the date that we are going to be going out. And this is one of the reasons that we need to hit the road on Saturday, because it's 1 day before we go on the same day, 1 day to the same date that we go out. And it says Barbados PM Mia Mottley insists NIS not in crisis. I'm reading it here. It's an article. Okay. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says Barbados is nowhere near a crisis situation where the NIS is concerned, even as she acknowledged that urgent action is needed to avoid reaching that stage. But she said in no uncertain terms, this was a year ago, Lynette. She said that it was not in crisis, right? We are not in crisis. So what would have happened in Saturday coming would be 12 months since the Prime Minister assured us that this fund was not in crisis. However, the report from the that came out that Mr. Franklin read, it told us that it was in trouble. So I'm wondering if she hadn't seen it. But just an aside, because you were saying the Minister of Finance has not yet come out to address the people, right? But go ahead, Lynette.
And well, I personally haven't. I don't know any about any of the mudslinging or any attacks towards me. I haven't heard of any. I'm probably insulated from it, but I do want to make the point where that is concerned because these things, there's certain tactics that are used all of the time. Okay, they're going to um, not only say derogatory things, but they're going to try to lampoon you, to make a joke of you. Um, this has been done repeatedly. As I keep telling you, this is a Caribbean thing. where the elites at the top know they have a good deal going by living off of poor people. So they have a system which they've been using for decades for anybody at all who speaks out to grind them into the dirt and most of all make mock sport at them. That's what they do. So when you see that starting to happen, understand that you're getting somewhere. Okay. So that's what I want to say about that. The tactics are the same, but we're not trying to make up anything. Anything that we are saying, we're doing our research, we're looking at the legislation. If we don't know, we say that we don't know. So somebody is asking what happened to the Four Seasons Hotel. The last statement I saw on it, they're saying that there's an issue with ownership because there apparently is some conveyance, but there seems to be some issue as to the validity of it. And apparently it's before some court somewhere. I don't know where it is, but at the moment, but even very recently, you still hear people talking about this project. You hear government officials talking about this project as though it is something that we still want to be involved in, even though the project is there, the site is a good site. Let private sector from wherever come and invest in it, because the track record of us in a project like that doesn't seem to be a good track record. We don't seem to have a good track record at building hotels. So I will hope the NIS funds are not going to be used to try to build any other hotel in Barbados, because it seems as though we can't get it done. And I certainly don't think, you have a minister of finance, you have an economist, and these people assume that they have the knowledge to build a big hotel, to know how to do it. It's a joke.
Yeah. There's something I found in my research, and I'm putting it as a question to ask the PM to tell us how much was she, because really it was the government's money that was being invested mainly was invested in this project. How much did she earn from the from the work that was done? Because from my little investigation, I don't know about yours, Lynette, but it is being alleged that the lawyer on the project earned over $10 million. And it has been said between her and her father's law firm. So the question, I don't know if it's true. So the question is, these are things I'm saying, that if we have put so much money in it, as it's our money, as you said, government money is our money that has been put in it. I think that the people need to ask question. At least you can't make statements, but we need to actually ask a question. Okay. Because we're seeing that it seems like a conflict of interest as you went into office, and then the auditor general is saying, but hold a minute, why did 120 million all of a sudden it's just removed, of the books? Totally removed off the books. Who did it? It had to come from the Minister of Finance. Somebody had to authorize it for it to be done. And so it caused me as an accountant, these are the questions that's going in my head, because it's too close. The relationships, the conflicts, how did you make money of this project? And how much did you make? How much Mr. AVINASH made of this project? He's still around. He's still the current economic advisor to the prime minister, to this government. So the relationships are still there. Sinclair is still there. The three of them still there. What is this thing with these three? Sinclair, AVINASH, and Mottley. These are questions I'm asking. I'm not making statements. I am just wondering, as an accountant, it just seems to me that there's such a conflict of interest, and in any regular company, the auditor would go in, and when the auditor finds that there is a problem, then they are going to, when they see red flags, and the auditor general told Barbados that there's a red flag. That's what the auditor does. The auditor general went in and saw the $120 million was 124, I think $124 million
Yeah.
that was wiped off the books, and wanted to know. And in any good company, any manager, any owner of any company, the auditor is saying that they're going to stop what they're doing and go and look at it. So I don't know. Did you know how much the lawyer was paid on this project?
No, I have no idea, but I did see an article where Ryan Strawn came out, apparently to clear the air, to say that the $124 million was not written off because the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister, was the lawyer at the time. I did see that article written in the newspaper. So apparently once he said that all was well. So, but I mean, I know in other countries for sure, well, those maybe are countries that have freedom of information. We have a bill, but for some reason that bill, we didn't rush to pass that particular bill. Apparently it's in draft, been in draft for the longest time. But in any other country, you would, well, not any other country, but any other country that holds itself out as being run well according to principles of good governance, you should be able to find out about all the fees that were paid out of Four Seasons. Because really it shouldn't be a secret, because it's public money. It's public money. It belongs to the taxpayers. So we should know where that money went. People keep saying that, I think Barbadians we've been spoiled for a long time. So we expected these things to work out because you had a government and an opposition. But you could see that with Four Seasons, there was great collaboration amongst people who were not from the same political party. And one seems to be able to straddle any political party. But this was a coming together of interests between the two political parties. And maybe this is why people never heard a lot about Four Seasons, because it's a difficult thing for both parties to defend. They can't, for either party to defend. It's very difficult for them to defend the use of taxpayers' money in this way, in this project. And then there were fees involved. We should know who was paid what, how much money they got out of it. Because you see, the problem is you can have a project that fails if you can see work being done, if you see that work was done. And, then because every project doesn't succeed. But you can't see, you go out to Paradise now, there's nothing down there, absolutely nothing down there. So, like, what is it that they did with the money? Even if there were advisors, what is it that they were advising on? The hourly rate must have been through the roof in order to reach those sums of money. So I think Barbadians have to question these things more and make it a part of our culture. If it is a part of our culture, then you would have to worry less. People would be wondering, like, if you're sitting like me on this program talking, you don't know who's in the audience listening. You don't know. I don't know that I've ever been victimized. I might be, but you say can't worry about that. You see, I am the type of person who can't live in bondage. I have to be able to speak. Either, if I were born back in the days of slavery, I probably would be dead, because I can't take this. I can't take this kind of bondage, taking me for granted, taking money that I work hard for personally. I take it personally. A lot of people don't. They put their money, but I work hard for my money. There's no job that I have ever had, even if you thought it was a cushy job as a minister or director of international business, or when I worked at Price Waterhouse, whatever, I always work hard. Whether I have to or not, I always work hard. So every cent that I have, I've worked for. People have given me opportunities, of course, but when given those opportunities, I've worked. So then I can't take it lightly when somebody just take my money and they could just lick it out as they like, and they get money for doing nothing. I don't feel that is fair to me.
Correct.
You know, and
Correct.
I see a lot of Barbadians who work hard, even though people turn around and curse them and say they don't like work and that kind of thing. Somebody who was getting up on mornings to catch a 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock bus, to go and stand up all day, to then try to get a bus and don't get one to 8, 9 o'clock, have to come home and cook, look after children, look after a man or whatever else, then to repeat the same cycle. You telling me that those people don't work hard? And it's just probably that they don't have the energy when they finish. All they could do is say, oh, well, you know how it is. What else they can do? Because they're tired. But then you have other Barbadians who have the privilege of being able to leave their office and get in a car, put on the air conditioner and drive home. And they're not prepared to stand in the breach for those people who are not able to do anything more. I think they should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I really think they should be embarrassed.
It's a crying shame, and that's why people like yourself and Caswell, who will stand up, for the poor people, those who believe were tired. They work so hard. They're the ones I see I see them. You see these people, they become tired, and so we become a voice for the voiceless. And Mr. Stewart, I know it's been said that the bill is passed, because I know you had to come on before the hearing was completed. But the bill is now passed, which we knew that once it got to the Senate, that the chances of it being passed is great, because they don't have enough opposition to it. Remember what happened? It's the 30-0 situation, and those senators are all put there by the government. Okay. So, Mr. What do we do now, Mr. Franklin? Your mic is muted.
All is not lost. What people don't understand is that when you pass a bill, check France. They passed the legislation in France to carry up the pension age to 62 or something like that. Yeah. And the people rioted even after it was passed. I'm not advocating rioting. I'm advocating marching, because people this can still be turned back. It better be turned back. It is only for the benefit of the Barbados Labour Party that this thing is going to be put in place. And I'm not talking about the Barbados Labour Party government. I'm talking about the Barbados Labour Party electoral fortunes. This is to put them in place where they can get their hands on the money and to get their hands on the jobs. And if Barbadians want to sit down and let this thing happen to them over and over and over and over, well, there's nothing nobody can do. But if you want to do something, join us on this march. Let the government see that we are not happy. There are many pieces of legislation that have not seen the light of day, haven't been passed in the House, and haven't been passed in the Senate. I'll give you an example. From when I was a little boy, Tom Adams was talking about integrity legislation. He's going to put integrity legislation on the books. Every other prime minister, maybe with the exception of Bruce St. John, because he only lasted a few months, made that promise that they're going to put integrity legislation on the books. The only one who managed to achieve it was Randall Stewart. He passed an act, Integrity Public Life Act, but it was not proclaimed.
Mhm.
When the Barbadians, the party government came into office, they said, "Oh, that act has too many flaws. We're going to put one. We're going to do it over. We got one done in 100 days. That 100 days is now 20, count the days. Started 2018, and this is now 2023, and those 100 days ain't passed yet. My thesis is that these politicians want to get rich first before they pass our bill, because when right now you can get away with a lot of stuff under the Integrity and Public Life Act. If it ever becomes one, there can be certain reporting requirements, and that might discourage you from getting the outside payments that people are accustomed to getting. And I can tell you, we know that it happens because one person said the United States, but this happened to Barbadians all the time. Before his conviction, he said it's happening to Barbadians all the time. I don't know what he was talking about, but he must have been talking about his colleagues or his counterparts or whatever you feel like calling them. So we know. So we need to keep the pressure up, even if it is passed, because any legislation that is passed can be repealed. Even if it is signed by the president, it can be repealed. The people who should really be fighting this thing are the staff at National Insurance, because their jobs are up for grabs. As a matter of fact, the people who were opposed to the National Insurance changing the system, a lot of them got transferred from National Insurance to other government departments, and it brought in a lot of people. That is why you can't get work done, because these new people don't know what they're doing. Because they're trying to make sure that everybody in there, where people are singing for in the same BLP choir, and it's hurting National Insurance all it know. That is why you're not getting your benefits. That is why you're not getting the tribunals to work. There's a whole bunch of things going on right now. I heard the director of National Insurance and David Ellison show, so I'm telling you, all these tribunals are in place. Yeah, are in place, but are they working? That's the difference. Because I went to one the other day, and the case that I had was going on since 2009. Yeah, the lady got injured in 2009, and she's still fighting through the tribunal system. And then the tribunal said, when after they produced the evidence, they said, look, we can send us back to the director, because it was no need for her to get up there. The lady was entitled to her pension or her benefits, but they weren't giving her since 2009. So when the director said, yes, that's true, they are in place, but are they working? And all of this is to get people angry, so people will agree. People that vilify the National Insurance staff. You can't make bricks without straw. You're not giving the people the capacity to do the work. And I think it is deliberate, because they want people to curse National Insurance staff and said, oh, they're not enough, and so that it would be more palatable for them when they say, oh, we get rid of them, we're going to have a new board. New board, what? There has always been a board from 1966. National Insurance was a board from 1966. There is nothing new about the National Insurance thing, except for one thing, and that is the ability of government to hire staff. Everything else in the legislation is, I can repeat it, is found in the old legislation. For instance, it says that the National Insurance Board can appoint any committee that it thinks fit. The amendment says the National Insurance Board can appoint and name some committees, and then say any other committee. So all that says is what they said in 3 lines, they put it in 50. So it might get some pretty bad. But the board can still appoint any committee that it seems fit. That is all that is in place. They put staff members in place, new staff, and I like to put say they must have a CEO, they must have this person, they must have the next person, and all of those jobs are set out in legislation, and their job descriptions are set out in legislation. Again, it is a ruse, because no job. I've never seen legislation where you put the job description in an act of Parliament. It's in the National Insurance Amendment Act. No, the people job description, because they wanted to confuse you with a lot of writing, so that people won't read it because it's enough. The amendment that they sought, the only one that valid, could have taken 1 page. This one has Let me see. Let you know. Um, I'm trying to find it for you. I want to give you the exact number of pages. When you only needed one, but they give you something like 30 somebody pages or something, so to achieve national insurance social. Download this document. They want to give people the impression 34 pages. The amendment that matter could have been done on one page, but they give 34 pages of right thing. So as to confuse you and sneak in the little things that they want to sneak in. The person who drafts the bill should be ashamed, because I have never seen, I don't know if Lynette has ever seen it, where job descriptions are put
No,
in the parliament.
no,
But,
Yeah,
no,
Lynette is
you
saying
wouldn't do that.
she has never seen it. This is what I'm saying. We have the privilege of having these wonderful people here who they have been in those places before, and they're saying, listen, something is unusual here. They put the job description of the staff inside the bill, and Caswell said it earlier before Lynette was on. And Lynette is now confirming that it's strange that it's in the bill. You know, but that's a bill that was passed today because we believe that they have ulterior motives. And someone is asking, before I know, Lynette, you want to say something. I want to just say this here, that the issue with the Four Seasons Hotel started, based on my research, it started with the BLP government. Then it went to the DLP government, and then back to the BLP government. Okay, so nobody here is saying that it's one. It's only one party. Okay, it is something that came along the line. We even mentioned Chris Sinclair's name and the fact that he's now with the BLP, right? He's no, he's no hands and glove with them, but it's everybody. And Lynette was very, very clear in saying that tonight. Okay. So those of you, if you weren't listening, I repeated that so that you can, for your benefit. All right. But it was under this government that the amount was written off, and that's a fact. Okay. And this prime minister was the lawyer of that project. And this economic advisor under this government was also part of that deal with Four Seasons Hotel. Okay, those are the facts. All right, go ahead, Lynette. You have to unmute.
Right.
Mm.
So, we are in a position where we have a very clear example because, and I'm actually surprised that some people say that they didn't know about the connection between Four Seasons and the NIS funds, and they didn't know about all of this money being written off, because it actually was in the public domain and different people did talk about it. So that underlines the point that we really must pay attention to what is happening. And, there are a lot of, I know that there are lots of chat groups all over Barbados. And maybe we can transform all of those chats into doing something meaningful. There are many of you here who belong to different chats. Try to use your influence to get people to start paying attention to what is happening in Barbados, because as I keep saying, Barbados has survived on discipline. We don't have a lot of resources. People might say that we're not the most talented people in the world, but it is because of discipline that we are where we are, and we can't afford to stop doing that. Now we have to step up. And, I would like to ask all of you who are listening not to be deterred from learning and being interested in what we're doing, because I know when you go there, there are going to be people who will tell you that this has been going on from the beginning of time, there's nothing that you can do about it. But my thing is that is not true. You had a Barbados where people had a big vision for the country. The things that we thought that we could do back in the 50s and the 60s, we can't allow them to unravel. And what I see happening is that in the past, it isn't that things didn't go wrong or people didn't do things that they should not be doing. But now there is there's a reckless disregard for Barbadians, and whether we know it is happening or not, there's no attempt to pretend that they aren't doing what they're doing. And in every instance, we can see that only a few people are benefiting and the majority of people aren't. I know there are some people in the middle class who would like to feel that they're up there with the others, but you are being put at a disadvantage as well. The middle class, as we know it in Barbados, is beginning to dwindle more and more. And if we're not careful, we're not going to be able to pass on these things to another generation. And the next generation might have to start building from scratch, going through the things that grandparents and great-grandparents went through before. They might find themselves having to do the same thing. So when you're going to hear more things about what is going to be done with the NIS money in the future. This was a first salvo today to tell you that $80 million is supposed to go overseas. We don't know to where. So you can expect that other things are going to happen. We're going to try to be here to bring the information to you. But believe me, in political circles, the feeling always is that we're going to talk about these things for 2 days and then we're going to forget about it. And we have to be able to demonstrate that that is not the case.
Yeah, thank you. That was so well said. And one of the things that you can do is to take these. This has just been such a learning experience, and I'm serious, guys, because this is not my field, and that's why I have my little book here, Lynette. You see this book? I have notes. I've been taking notes in this book. I have learned. It felt like I've been in school.
It's a big book, not a little book.
Yes, it's a big book, but the page is right up. But I have been in this stuff, boy, and because a lot of times things you see things and you don't pay attention to it, and we can use these chats, these shows, or any these shows or anything that you find on this particular issue or any issue that you think it's educational, you can pass it into these chats. So share this show. Like tonight, if you benefited from this tonight, share the show with others. Invite people to come out to the march. They're going to learn more when they come out to the march. We're going to have people speaking, etc. All right. So you're going to learn more when you come out to the march. All right. So all of that, that is important, that you make, not just pass around all the jokes and so on, but to really get into it and to really learn. There is a petition. There's a petition that you asked for it. You asked for the petition right here on the show last week. You remember? And one person who was watching, she went ahead and she said to me, Marcia, I can help with the petition. Okay. And so she's decided to help with the petition. And the petition has garnered 3,367 not votes, what do you call that? Signatures.
Signatures.
Signatures. 3,367 signatures. Guys, can we make this go to at least 5,000 by tomorrow? By tomorrow night when I come on, right? When I come back on tomorrow night, can we be able to announce that it's 5,000? How can you do that? Can you share this in the chats that you're in? Can you send it to somebody right before you send it, right at the top of it? Why you want them to sign? Why you're encouraging them to sign it? Okay, right? So why don't we send it out? 3,367 votes, right? Not votes, signatures, and we want to, by tomorrow night, that we're up to 5,000. It's possible. It's possible. Okay. We it was moving, and then it felt like it kind of, there's a little standstill. But now that they've gone ahead and passed the bill that we don't want them to pass, but they've gone ahead and passed it, and I think they've done it together. So it's both the NIS and pension bill, Mr. Caswell.
Yes, both are passed together. You know what the
Both.
funny thing about it is? That pension bill that they passed, NIS people will not get a pension from that. They're going to have a separate pension plan by a private company. This you can't make this thing up, you know. They are going to be, NIS will be administering the pension plan going forward, but they will administer a plan, and their staff will not be able to participate in it. Some private sector person will get the honor of putting a pension plan for NIS. Right now, NIS are covered under the same pension plan, the same pension as all the rest of civil servants. They're taking them out and giving it to private sector. Somebody there with a company that's selling pension plans that got friendly Barbadians their party. That is all I can think of.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing, and very soon we're going to see who it is. That's the thing about these people, you know. And while we're at it, we don't even know what, we haven't heard from the DLP either on this particular issue. We haven't heard. I know that they said that they're waiting, but we're waiting to hear what are their thoughts on it. You know, that would be interesting to know as well, because we're not, you know, we're backing any political party, but you know, we need to be able to hear what are they doing, what are they saying, you know.
They're not saying anything. You want to know why? Because they had their hands all the way down to the elbows in the national insurance cookie jar too, so they can't come out and criticize the Barbadians Labour Party, because the Barbadians Labour Party will say, take the more before you try to take out the bottom mine. You know what I mean? So we need to do this. But even if the parties are not going to come together and fight each other on this one, because they both have common ground, they both went and put down the national money, we got that for ourselves. Mind you, those people as MPs, when they get in the parliament, they're getting their pension. At 52, you know, you think maybe the party, Democratic Party people come in, that they can say, or I ain't gonna want the pension at 50. Then every year politicians get to talking, they always talk about they want 2 terms because they want the pension.
So someone asked a question, if the 2 pensions, is it the greater of the 2 that they get, or they get 2?
That's the point. No, they get both. Not like the civil servant who get the greater of the 2. They get both. They get the greater and the lesser. They got the nest feathers so good, it ain't funny.
Wow. You know, this is something, as Hadassah is saying, that only less than 4,000 people who signed the petition. You're right, Hadassah. And it's because we get caught up with the partying, we get caught up with just foolishness, you know, and not looking to see what is happening. And as I said, if you just think about who this will affect, guys, it's the people who cannot pay for their private insurance, their private private pension fund. You know, and I will always keep that at the front, and I will always come on and put on my computer and open up my computer, put on this mic for those people. And it is for those people that I'm going out on March, to March on Saturday, August the 12th. And that's why I signed the petition. And so I'm asking everybody on here, make sure you sign this petition. Make sure you sign the petition.
You know, as I had said before, Barbadians have usually you know, and maybe I can't blame them either. They're usually waiting for somebody in opposition to speak on their behalf instead of speaking for themselves. They're waiting for somebody in the trade union movement to speak on their behalf. So it's very interesting. In August 2023, Barbadians should note that neither the politicians nor the trade unions were here to speak for them. And this must be to teach us a lesson, which is that we were given this ability to speak so that we could speak on our own behalf. We have to stop relying on other people to speak for us. We have to do it ourselves. There's a role for opposition parties, there's a role for the trade union movement, but there's also a role for we, the people, to always remember that sometimes their interests don't coincide with ours. Because I would figure that this is a matter that trade unions, well, except for Caswell's trade union, would be jumping on this. But they aren't. Why?
Why do you think not? The General Secretary of Barbados Workers Union is an MP in the Barbados Labour Party government. The president of NUPW has declared her interest in running for Edmonton seat when he goes off. What do you expect? That they're going to go and challenge the Prime Minister? That is the problem, you know.
Well, yeah, because I believe there was a time where people actually respected the roles that they had. And if now there's a conflict, well, you give up one.
No, I say Glaston Holder put it best. I never forget this. He's dead enough years, but I always remember this. He says, I am not saying that a man cannot wear two hats, but when you wear them together, they look foolish. They're all looking really foolish now, you know, the two hats on their head at the same time. They lost respect. I think they lost their respect for themselves. The people lost respect for them. They are not standing up, and you would be surprised. A union was cheering that our march didn't come off. Our march achieved what we wanted to achieve. We wanted to get the government paused, and we did. Because I don't expect to have the entire civil service and everybody else outside on the street. But what else could we have done? You couldn't go to the police and organize a march on Wednesday morning for Wednesday morning. Because the Barbados Labour Party government made sure that they didn't give us time. They didn't give the country time. They passed it on Friday in the Senate and one passed it on Wednesday in the House. And the Monday and Tuesday were bank holidays. So they knew what they were doing. This wasn't a mistake. This was an accident. The only reason this thing came about and they had pause is because Marcia Week show. If Marcia Week didn't highlight this, that would have been passed last week. And people would have found out when they get old that the thing changed. So, Marcia, I must commend you again. People of Barbados owe you a debt of gratitude. I certainly owe you one.
Well, with the people through this show and through Brass Stacks, the people spoke. They said, and you could tell, and you're seeing all the signatures that are, the petition, and we're hoping that it continues to increase. People will come out on Saturday, and this is why you need to come out and to be able to register your concern and register that you have a problem with waiting until you are 68. You have a problem with that pension age. They went ahead and they passed it. You had a problem and they still went ahead and passed it, which is why the Prime Minister said she don't give up whatever. She don't give up. So you need to not give up either. and stop trying to determine which party. Oh, your mother, your great grandmother was a B, and then this person was a D, and this. Forget about that nonsense. Forget about that. She don't give out whatever, so you don't give out whatever. Make sure that you find yourself out there, because they don't care that you have a problem with it. You have a problem with the bill, and they went ahead and they passed it anyway.
And the thing is that you had a problem with the bill, and mind you, most people didn't have a problem with it because they didn't know what it was. They did it secretly. They did it in stealth, and they do that with almost everything they do. They pass it suddenly, and look at the one with the ID card. They passed it one day when I wrote to the Senate and said I will not be attending the Senate on that Wednesday because I had some other thing. Monique did the same, and Crystal Grace did the same. And that day, the bill wasn't scheduled to be debated that day. And it was, because the three people who would have opposed it, or might have opposed it, weren't there, so they rushed and passed it in all its stages in one day. The first time I saw the bill, Winston, this was sent it to me, Winston Clark. He sent it to me. 2 years later, they passed a bill and an emergency procedure to happen to put it down to wait for 2 years. Well, you're gonna let the people discuss it during that 2 year period?
During 2 years.
In 2 years, you passed a bill and put it down, and then started do the process that you wanted to do 2 years later, and they did it in emergency session. They didn't want people to know. The IMF gave you instructions. You just follow blindly and do what IMF said. And now everybody in Barbados, unless you can buy your own pension plan, will suffer.
They will suffer, and that is it. What I'm saying to Barbadians, and this part gets to me. Everybody cannot do this. They went and they messed it up, and now poor people have to pay. Poor people are the ones that have to carry this on their backs. This is not right. This is unjust. Go ahead. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you, Mr. Why aren't we hearing you, Caswell? Okay, go ahead, Lynette. You were saying something.
Oh, he's gone. Well, I just want to say to Barbadians, because I was actually speaking to somebody today, and this is a person who normally would not get involved in anything like this at all. And I said, but they said that they had seen the petition and heard the voice notes and various things. And I said, so will you come out then? And they said, well, yes, I'm considering it, but you didn't send me the information. So then I sent them the information. So there are people out there who do not normally get involved in these things, but they will know. And because you haven't done it before, you may think that it is a difficult thing to do, but there are going to be other people there. And you just join in. The more of us there are, the better it is for everybody. And as I keep saying, this has to become a part of our culture, that we find a way to demonstrate to the powers that be that we're not happy. We can't just continue to have our money being used by certain people. There are people who already have an advantage in life, and yet they want to get advantage piled upon advantage. If the people in Barbados that have all of these advantages, instead of trying to benefit from the little that is here, Why don't you use your advantage and go out? Go out. That's what other people in other countries do. You know, the people who have advantage like Apple and Microsoft, they go out and invest and bring money back into the United States. But you know, you have in the Caribbean certain groups that they have done well, they have wealth, and they're not going anywhere. They just continue to feed off of the poorer people in the society. It's like being a parasite.
Correct.
So you're not adding anything. I mean, you're here, you have wealth, you have resources, and all you're trying to do is to continue to get little jobs that somebody know coming up should get. You should be out doing other things. Not that somebody
Yes.
that is new in a business trying to get a little government pick here and there. You find people who are well off in Barbados, who've been in business for years, who've had big contracts, and they're still picking around trying to stop a little fella that no coming out from getting a little contract somewhere. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's nothing to be proud of. It's nothing to be proud of being a big fish in Barbados. Barbados is small, just about 280,000 people, and you feel smart because you're running a business and all you're doing is, buying and selling. And when you don't make as much money as you think you should, you just carry up the price so that you can make more money. There's nothing to admire. Go
Correct.
say and earn some
Yeah,
foreign exchange.
correct. And I think that we're supposed to think you're such a big entrepreneur.
Yeah, big entrepreneurs and big business, that's nonsense.
Correct.
All you are here doing is just living off of poor people.
Correct.
But the only
Correct.
thing what you notice about that is that generations live off of poor people, and they literally pay starvation wages to the people who make them rich. Look at these big businesses in the Massey stores and um the like Collins Limited. They when the owners then decide, well, they're retiring and they don't want to hand it over to black people in Barbados, they sell it overseas,
Mm-hmm.
and they sell it to other friends and family overseas, or they sell it to other interests overseas that don't look like us, because they wouldn't want to see their business in black hands. And
Correct.
this is nothing new. When I was a little boy and I wasn't aware of what was going on basically when independence came about. But I remember the white people start leaving Barbados in droves because they didn't want to live in a country that had a black government. And Barra tricked them. Barra said, well, look, we can still have the Queen as our head of state. So some of them stayed because of that. The Queen had no power in Barbados since 1966. Or the British government had no power in Barbados since 1966. But they believed that. So that kept some money here. Some of them went to New Zealand and work on pig farms rather than work in Barbados and have a black man as the head of government. I had a black. So it is the Barbados condition.
Yeah.
But those American companies, people say this is not America, but those American companies go abroad, sell whatever it is that they're selling, whether it is Facebook or whatever, and you look at cell phones, computers that we're on, and you see how they enrich Americans. You look at you see their office facilities. They're able to build those facilities because of all the money that they're collecting from people around the world. But our people seem content to just to just stay here and make a few dollars off of us,
No,
keeping us poor at the
unless
same time, and they get every single incentive possible from government in order to do better.
BT might take it to New York to sell chicken.
But you know, I mean, and it all comes back to the oppression of the poor. You know, that's what it comes to, and this is why we are going out on Saturday, March the 12th. I mean, sorry, August the 12th. We're marching on August the 12th. At least, actually, 1 year since the Prime Minister said that there was nothing wrong with the NIS. There was no, NIS was not in crisis. I think it's ironic that that's the day that Barbados will go out and march, right? Because they said, listen, we need greater accountability. We are not with this NIS money. Okay, and we are not going to be working until we are 68. It is not happening in Barbados. I wonder if you are serious, because I serious, you know. And I'm going out there walking in the hot sun if you're not serious, you know. If you are serious, then I serious. You understand? I going out there. Lynette, you going? Lynette, you going to be out there? Lynette say, of course, her mic muted. Mr. Franklin,
No,
you going?
of course, but I can't tell people to come out and march and I'm not there.
You're
I
going to
assume
be
that the
there.
people I invited would be looking for me.
Yes, you're there so that you hear what Lynette said, the people she invited. Who have you invited to come on the march? And when they tell you, oh, marches don't work and whatever, no, they listen. They listen. They don't want you to march. In the Senate today, one of them said it's not necessary to march. Why would they want to tell you it's not necessary to march? If it didn't matter, why would they be saying it's not necessary to march? Because they're scared of you marching. Anytime they tell you not to march is when you march. Make sure you're marching because it means that they're
They have
worried.
to learn. They have to learn that they can't just do what they feel like and believe. Well, I don't know. I have to say, well, I don't know. They seem to feel we're clowns. That
No,
they could just do what they feel like.
they feel we're idiots, not just clowns, idiots, and they feel that they can,
Idiotic clowns.
yeah, give us a red T-shirt and $100 rubber band every 5 years, and we're gonna be happy about that. And you should see the and mind you, they give you a fat ever so often. They go out there so and expose yourself. And the thing, what really sickens me is that we have young people in Barbados who think that walking out there and disgracing themselves publicly, and then if you see them walking on the road the following week and when block the dress, they can pull it down very fast. But they sort of have this sort of in something big as my hand as a panty, and walking on the road, but the government encourages that. The government promotes it. Have you seen this government doing anything that's uplifting for the people of this country? When did they organize a classical music symposium? When did they organize a lecture that will teach people things? When did they? Now they want you to be jump up wild, like the prancing in front, devil worship, kind of behavior. That is what they want you to have. You got to tell them, look, use your mind, use your brain. Stop letting people use you. And come out and stand up for yourselves. You will not get another chance, because if these changes happen, it will hurt you when you can least afford it. Today I went to visit some nurses and stuff. And one of them said to me, Mr. Franklin, you can see a nurse turning those patients at 68. Because I was talking about the firemen and the police and stuff, but she told me, Mr. Franklin, the nurses can't do it either. You can't take a nurse. So they're locked. So when they do this madness, they do it without thinking. They just look at numbers and say, okay, the good book says you can get 3 score and 10, we can get 2 years of pension, it will pop off. And they make care that how you can live, if you live after the 3 score and 10, or if you get sick and unable to work before that period. They don't care. There are lots of jobs. You see a fella digging wells at 68. You see a fella driving a bus at 68. at 50 something, you can't even see good for the night, and you can ask them if it's worth 68.
But
Then you say,
even like artisans, a painter, you expect a painter to still be climbing a ladder, you know?
not with
Um,
arthritis.
Masons, carpenters. And the thing is, the majority of Barbadians are in jobs like the ones we're talking about: sanitation workers, nurses, policemen, prison officers, firemen, all the artisans that you could think about, painters, carpenters, tailors, all of these people. They might do a little job when they reach that age. Somebody in the neighborhood might say, John, I know you're still a good tailor man. Come in here and help me. Yes, they might go and do that because the person will understand, yeah, they're coming to help and they're going to take as long as they need to take. But doing that to earn a living is a completely different thing. They're lawyers who continue to work, but you will find that you will start hearing people say, well, he only comes in twice a week. He only comes in the morning, leaves early. All those kind of things start to happen because even though you might think that like being a lawyer is a desk job, it may still require you to go from court to court, to drive from Horse Hill, then to St. Matthias, and then you gotta run again the High Court. I have seen older people who might have been into politics come back out and try to do it, and it's difficult to do. So even people who have those kind of desk jobs, it's going to be difficult for them. Somebody who's a seamstress, somebody who does hair, standing up on your feet for the whole time while you're doing somebody's hair, those things are going to be difficult.
Yeah, that's why I call it elder abuse, is what it is. It's sanctioned elder abuse by the government, and it's crushing poor people, and that's why we're coming out on Saturday, August 12th. And as someone says here, if they could have come out to march against NSRL, for the merchants, they came out in their thousands, right? Right? So why can't you come out now for poor people, Barbados?
I'll give you a story about this NSRL march. When they called me and asked me to participate, I refused. I said, and if anybody from Unity Workers Union participate, they don't have the backing of Unity Workers Union, they will have left the job without the sanction of the union, they could be dismissed. I am not going against it because it was one of the better taxes. It forced people to pay taxes, people who would steal the VAT, they couldn't steal the NSRL, and that is why they wanted it off. And I remember representing a young lady who they wanted to dismiss. Well, they finally dismissed her. But they gave them pay. The merchant, the store owner, gave the staff pay to go to the march. You go to the march, they pay you. You got paid.
Because it was about them. It was about the merchants.
They had the signing books at Queen's Park. So you signing for work at Queen's Park, and you went on the march. Well, this one young lady, she was at work a morning, a young girl, 20-something years old. And they called her to say, about 10 o'clock in the morning, come to the hospital and see her mother for the last. The mother was on her way out. So she told the people what was happening, and she rushed off to the hospital, and she was able to speak to her mother for a few minutes before she died. Young little girl, 20-somebody years old, mother died. She ain't got work the next day. You know what to do? They paid her for 2 hours the day when she went to the hospital to see her mother, and she didn't get paid for the next, but she got paid a march. I will never forget that. You people are being used and you like it. You got to stop this foolishness and stand up for yourself sometime. Mind you, I was able to get a good settlement for the lady, so in the end, so I don't feel too bad about that.
The poor people, fighter for the poor people.
Yeah.
Somebody here saying that Liz Thompson, that she sought to justify why parliamentarians' pension need to remain at the year at 50 years. And while the people are saying that they have a problem, you all recognize what is happening here. This is the people that we put there, you know. And the people are telling them that they have a problem with them getting pension at 50. And they go in there and try to justify it. Do you all see what is going on here?
But if you remember the analysis program, brass that's Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, Colin Jordan was saying, oh, the Prime Minister said it needs to change. Now her henchwoman is saying otherwise. You believe Colin Jordan?
Right, right. That's true. He was saying that they're going to change it, but now she is justifying why it needs to remain at for them, because they must get pension twice, right? We pay pension twice at 50 and 68, and that is fine. Wow. Well, Bajans will have to decide.
Well, if they don't decide, they will perish. And if they don't decide and they come out and march, get used to ramen. That's all I can tell them. I've never eaten it yet, so I can't really complain and say it tastes bad or anything else, but I hear about it. And I tell you, if you don't come out and stand up against this government, acquire a taste for ramen, because that is all you're going to be able to afford on the pension that they give you.
I would like each person out there who is listening, who plans to come to the march, or even, I don't know, maybe you have an appointment, you can't come. I think it is still necessary for you to reach out individually to, you know, friends, family, and ask them to come with you. You know, say to them, trust me, this is important. Explain to them. Bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people with you. Not because sometimes, you know, you might be talking to this person afterwards, and you might say, well, I don't understand why people didn't come. The person might say, well, I wanted to go, but you didn't ask me anything. I didn't know when you were going. And then you might be there saying, oh, I could have given you a lift. So you need to say to people, would you like to come? I'm going, I can give you a lift, or meet me there. I will meet you by X place and we'll go together. Something like that. But I think the direct outreach for those of us who are going, if you can bring along, well, not people like Caswell, because he would bring along far more people, but individuals, you know, reach out to a brother, a sister, a cousin, a friend from school, you know, get them to come. Reach out to them directly. Yeah. So I think that's part of the task.
Ricky Straker is asking the question, will workers lose 9% per annum for claiming an NIS pension early in the proposed reform up for the current 6%? The answer to that is yes. The thing is, they are trying to discourage you from claiming early as well. Because if you claim early, you cannot, when you reach 68, your pension don't go up. It remains at that deduction. So if you lose, right now, if you claim 2 years early, you lose 12%. 3 years early, 18%. And a lot of people cannot claim early for this reason. National insurance does not pay, I think it is $230 something or $230 for a week or something like this. If they make the deduction for the 6% or the 18% or the whatever percent it is, and it brings you below the lowest contributory pension, then they wouldn't allow you to claim early. So they're making sure that the poor people can get the pension early. And if you could afford to lose the 9%, as it will be now, over a year, 93, 27, if you can afford to lose 27% of your pension if you claim 3 years early, you could then you're never ever going to get it back. It's not going up to 100% when you reach 68. It will stay there. So there's always a catch to it. I don't know if that catch is explained to people, but it is very real. You do not get it back. Right? Somehow it don't jump up.
Yeah. Thanks, Caswell. This person is, before we close, about 5 minutes, but I thought we need to address this. This gentleman is saying, well, I hope you all listened to Liz when she broke down the pensions of the other countries. And I'm not sure if this person is Barbadian, but we are speaking about the pensions in Barbados. Okay, we are talking about Barbados. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the thing got stuck there. We're talking about Barbados. And so you need to take this message back to Liz, because it seems like you are very familiar with her. And let her know that in the same way that she would tell us what all the other countries are giving in terms of the years that they get their pension, the MPs in other countries, and that Barbados is comparable. I want her to look at all the other countries as it relates to the 68 years. America is 60, isn't it? Am I wrong? Am I right or wrong? Is it 60 or 62?
I'm not sure.
For America, okay? And even the same France, the people burning down the place, that was 63, 5 years more less than Barbados. So why doesn't she do a comparison on that end? Why is she comparing the MPs? Sir, this is about Barbados, and the people of Barbados are saying what they want, and that's all that matters. Okay? Right. I don't know if any of you else want to address that.
Not me.
Okay. Canada is 65. So I don't know why doesn't she compare? You tell her that she needs to compare on the other end as well. Okay? All right, guys, we're closing. And anybody has any questions? We just want to say that we are at 3,367 signatures for the petition. And the petition, the link is in the chat here. We've been putting the link in all night, and it's running here on the screen. I know it might be hard to catch it, but it's also in the chat. Okay, and I'm going to try to replace it, to put it right there back in the chat. Okay, America is 62. I'm hearing. Tell Liz that America is 62. Let's compare. All right, America is 62. Carmela says she signed the petition and shared, and she will continue. Guys, do not give up because they have passed it. It means nothing to you. Nothing to us. Okay? We're going to continue. We're not going to stop. We're not for it. Stand for something, right? Somebody say, please play the song, We Shall Overcome. You heard that, Mr. Franklin? Because listen, give us your suggestions. We want to hear from you. We shall overcome. All right. Now, we are going to, tomorrow, we're going to be here at 7 o'clock. Lynette is doing a special program, which we're going to try to tap into as well, Mr. Franklin. She's doing one on the integrity legislation. And so what we're going to still hear her by way of her program, and we're going to connect it all here so that you on the Marcia Week show here, you'll be able to hear a bit of Lynette's program tomorrow, because we're working together. All right, but we're going to come on, and Mr. Franklin and I, by God's grace, will be on at 7 and hear your suggestions of how, for the march, etc. It's your march, and we want you to be part of that, and so on. And I believe, am I to say about what's happening tomorrow morning, Mr. Franklin? I say, you sent me something.
Yes, that's the press conference. tomorrow at 11 at my office. I've invited the media, and I try to make sure the government don't call a press conference first, because what happens, my experience is that when we arrange a press conference, then the prime minister hold on fast, and the media rush all the prime ministers, and we're left with some very junior reporters who don't ask questions. So I'm very sorry that I had to hold it to my vest to late, but make sure the government don't call a press conference first. That's what they actually do, and so I've been bitten by them before. So I don't advertise press conferences now way in advance, because next thing you know, they got some fact, they got something, they might even arrange a shooting. So I managed to send it out tonight, and hopefully they don't arrange a press conference tomorrow morning.
Yes. Well, go ahead, Lynette.
Yes, I just wanted to say that what we're doing in our group, which is the Center for Rights and Responsibilities, is discussing the Integrity in Public Life Bill, which is a bill that is also before the Senate. And the question, in listening to the presentation, the question which you have to ask yourself is whether or not the contents of this bill can really address the issues that we want to address, which would be, how do you prevent those in public office, just let's use that term, those in public office, from abusing the position which they have, and whether or not this bill actually covers it. So, we're going to be looking at the measures which they've put in place, which is basically filing a statement of financial affairs, filing a statement of registrable interest. Then there are penalties involved. There are investigators. You have the Integrity Commission itself and how it is set up and how it's appointed, because all of these different moving parts help you to determine whether or not the legislation is going to be effective. So that is the question that we're asking. And all of these things are linked because, for example, if someone were in public office, if someone were managing to get fees or whatever out of a project, that should be, well, you see, these are the issues because the assets aren't actually going to be made public. They're going to go to a commission or a panel. So that is just to give you an idea of what we will be discussing in that bill and the questions that we have to ask ourselves as Barbadians, and you have to ask yourself, because it can't just be a tick the box. We pass integrity legislation. We're the ones that did it. The issue is whether or not it is effective and enforceable. So that's what we'll be working on. And of course, I'd be very, very happy if all of you could join us. And I'd like to thank Marcia for the opportunity of linking with her platform in order to do this presentation.
Lynette, you have the Integrity Commission and the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago High Court case on number 1735 of 2005.
No, I don't have that.
Because you need to see that, because the Attorney General of Barbados is using that case to say that the judges have their jobs protected in the Constitution, so you couldn't put them under the integrity in public life thing. That decision said no such thing. What that decision said was that, yes, their terms and conditions are in the Constitution, so you cannot pass ordinary legislation to put them under the Integrity and Public Life Bill. You will have to amend the Constitution.
Yeah,
that's what the court said. But the Attorney General didn't say that much. He said, "Oh, the courts rule that you can't put the judges in the thing," and that is unfortunate,
Yeah.
But I
Well, I'm assuming that he's saying though, it would be so for future judges. But
no,
he's
but
saying
that
no,
was
but
a
I still take the point that you're making because that's correct. Because once you pass the legislation by the appropriate majority, as you pointed out on one of these programs, you can do just about anything.
but no, that's because I find that they're not telling you the whole truth. They're telling you things that will make you go the way they want you to go, or
Yeah.
what they want you to believe, without telling you this is the whole truth and nothing but the
So
whole
you
truth.
said that is AG against?
It is the Integrity Commission and the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, because
Okay.
they brought the matter for a judge to rule on it.
Mhm.
And
Okay. All
the
right.
it is
Sorry.
you can
I figure I should be able to find it though.
it is 1735 of 2005. If you
Yeah.
want, I can always email it. You can have it here.
Okay. All right. I'll reach out to you.
Good.
Okay. All right. Well, we just want to thank everybody for joining on behalf of Caswell, myself, Lynette. I want to thank Mrs. Corbin. Oh, that was so moving, for coming on and sharing with us tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to be on at 7 again. And myself, Mr. Franklin, will be here. Lynette will be coming in via her program. We'll get to hear her tomorrow. And on Friday we are here again because we're going to hold the fourth. We're holding on because we got the 10 o'clock Saturday morning, right? So we're not. This is not a joke. All right. So we here 7 o'clock to meet you tomorrow evening. Okay. Thank you all, and please keep sharing. Please keep signing the petition and share this live in your chat. Share the petition in your chats and tell people let's get to 5,000 by tomorrow night with the petition. Okay.
Yeah.
God bless you all and have a good night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.